Welcome to the virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Oh, scrolled too far. Please welcome to your screen Suzette Veneti and Taryn Thru-U.
Hey everybody, it's 5:05, which means we're just 2 minutes late, which is not bad because usually we start at 5:03. I'm Suzette Veneti and welcome to the Suzette Veneti Show. It's September 20th. It's a Sunday, so that means if you have anything to do on Thursday, you're still good, unless it was last Thursday, and then you done fucked up. Anyway, tonight we're joined in studio by one of my favorite people, one of my favorite drag queens, Taryn Thru-U.
Hi everybody, woo, virtual land.
She's going to sit in with me tonight and be my interview guest, but I can't have Taryn in studio and not have her co-hosting with me. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. This should be fun and interesting and non-judgmental. Maybe.
Well, I'm going to do the monologue so you can judge all my jokes.
I don't judge, I assess.
All right, here we go. We'll see how this goes. I want to open the show tonight to celebrate two trailblazing women. First, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a champion and pioneer to us all. Justice Ginsburg's life has been documented and celebrated, so I don't need to tell you why it's important and amazing. Justice Ginsburg passed away on Friday and leaves a legacy that will never be rivaled. Her progressive work with the rights of humans in mind is something that we have and will continue to benefit from. Thank you, Madam Justice Ginsburg. Thank you for everything. The other woman that I want to celebrate is Punky Johnson. If you regularly watch the show, then you know that Punky was kind enough to spend an evening with me as my interview guest a couple months back. Punky is one of the most fun people that I've ever gotten to work with and know. And this week she made history by being named to Saturday Night Live's 46th season regular cast. When I first saw, I just thought, oh, cool. My friend's on Saturday Night Live, and it's much deserved because she deserves it. But then I saw headlines saying that she's the first out black lesbian woman that's ever been part of the regular cast. And I think she does. The thing is, she clearly deserves it, whatever it is. And her orientation and her race have nothing to do with it. But it is history, and it's record-breaking. And it's great because of who Punky is and the fact that she deserves it anyway. And I can't wait to see Punky on my TV on Saturday nights and say, baby, who dat? Punky, we're all so damn excited to see you shine. And to the jokes. The Spirit Store, the chain that has Halloween costumes, is freaking out because they don't know which empty businesses to put their stores in right now. There are too many. J.K. Rowling continues to use up all the goodwill that she ever earned by writing the Harry Potter series. As the author continues to make transphobic comments, and now writing a transphobic book, her fans wish that they could cast a spell of fuck offio. In her latest book, a cold case is solved when the detective realizes that the murderer is a man in a dress. Voldemort was a man in a dress. Dumbledore was a man in the dress. Moody was a man in a skirt. All the old wizards were in dresses. You can call it a cloak, I guess, but I don't know. Even R. Kelly is trying to distance the artist from the art on this one. And making it worse for Potterheads, Robbie Coltrane, who portrayed Hagrid in the films about the wizarding world, backed up J.K. Rowling. I don't know, I'm not surprised. I saw his hut in the movie, and the roof was covered with turf. Trump used social media to show support for our troops, but the pictures, instead of American planes, there were Russian fighter planes. I don't know. I'm not sure if I can blame him. He doesn't have time to check the silhouette of a fighter jet. He's busy destroying our country and our democracy, and that clearly takes a lot of his focus. According to CNN, satellite images show that two important glaciers in the Antarctic are sustaining rapid damage at their most vulnerable points, leading to their breaking up. I find that in most breakups, it's communication that's the problem. If only one glacier had just maintained an open line of communication with the other glacier, but like instead the one glacier was just cold. just like an ice shelf. Now with all the glacier tiers breaking up, there are major consequences, and the sea levels rising globally. That's how science works, right?
That took too long to figure out. You left me 5 lines back.
Okay, I'll try to do better. An Ice Age cave bear was discovered in Russia, and the scientific community is a Twitter because it's got all of its soft tissue intact. This means that the nose is still there. Look, scientist, I've heard this before, and that's just code words for the bear is Jewish. Who are you? J.K. Rowling? The bankers are goblins. Oi. Quicker?
Oh, I'm just behaving. I'm being a lady.
As the scrutiny of Louis DeJoy intensifies, more and more damning information comes out about this man. He reimburses employees if they donated to a Republican politician. He gives unqualified people jobs. He's trying to destroy the mail service. Now his scrutiny is even shining a light on maybe his foreign-born wife shouldn't be in the position she's in. But because DeJoy is a rich white man, I don't know. It kind of sounds like Trump put like a mini Trump in charge of the post office. In a move that made Fred Goldman say whoa, the family of Don Lewis, missing and presumed dead husband of Carol Baskins, paid for an aired commercial during Baskins' debut episode on Dancing with the Stars. The family offered $100,000. Baskins, a suddenly famous tiger-loving alleged murderer, did a paso doble on the show, and it's not a lot of justice, but she was fed to the judges and the viewers, and they just chewed her up. Neve Schulman of Catfish fame did a nice foxtrot, but he just wouldn't accept that his partner was who she said she was. That was quick.
Do you remember when jokes were just like knock knock, who's there? They weren't like the monologue and then you had to figure out the riddle at the end?
Well, I already wrote them all.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm kidding.
I mean, I'm being polite.
You really are.
I mean, wait until Clifton talks to me later.
Sanaa Lathan, Elfrey Woodard, Regina King, and Tracy Ellis Ross all starred for one night on a Zoom rendition of The Golden Girls. How cool, I thought. I would like to nominate another show and another black cast for a retelling. I'd like the last 4 years with the Obamas in the White House. Please, can we? That'd be nice. Thank you. In a surprising turn for a caffeinated beverage company, PepsiCo is launching a new drink called Driftwell that is meant to help consumers relax and unwind before bed. The enhanced water drink contains 200 milligrams of L-theanine and 10% of the daily value of magnesium. Driftwell will be available nationwide starting in December. Until then, if you want to unwind before bed and get sleepy, you can try whiskey. Straight, no chaser. Good night. Kelly Clarkson opened up about her struggles with divorce by saying, I mean, it's no secret my life has been a little bit of a dumpster. Just on the low, Kelly Clarkson, same girl. So I don't feel bad anymore. My alma mater, U of Pittsburgh, is in the news, and Pitt scientists discovered a biomolecule, and hamsters were infected with the SARS-CoV-2 strain, and then the biomolecule cured them. Trump heard about this and immediately tried to appoint Louis DeJoy to head scientist of the University of Pittsburgh. Chicago Bears wide receiver Allen Robinson deleted all of his mentions to the Bears on his social media accounts as the wide receiver and the team continue not to be able to agree on contract extensions. Mr. Robinson, Chicago Bears, don't be like the glaciers in the Antarctic. Communicate. Staying in the NFL, the league sent memos to its head coaches this past week as many coaches were seen during games with masks below their noses, under their chins, or just completely taken off. NFL coaches, they're just like regular idiots. The league is threatening to punish the coaches who ignore doing the right thing and wear masks, yet they continue to let Colin Kaepernick be blackballed from the league. The NFL. IKEA's in the news for their new ads. For years, the company has made CGI ads of products rather than taking pictures of actual products. And now they've added a famous influencer, Ima, to the ads. Ima, famous in Japan, is also being photoshopped into the ads now. But the twist is Ima is also digitally created and not real, just like the chances of that IKEA bookshelf lasting longer than 6 months. And with that, we're going to go. Are you ready? What, yes?
Well, I got IKEA stuff. It lasts. You just have to know how to use it.
You can't move it once it's built. That's what I've found.
I can move my IKEA stuff. The difference is that you have to know how to finesse it. I can finesse this. And when you learn how to finesse your hair, then it too will last more than 10 minutes.
With that, we're going to go to some more tea and bring in one of my favorite people and favorite contributors to the show. His information is going to be on screen. Peers and Queers, give it up for Clifton Ellison.
Oops.
Oh, he's on mute. Hold on. He was on mute because he was laughing at my hair.
Hey, Suzette. Hey, Taryn. How y'all doing? But I
Hey,
gotta do it
Clifton.
like how Taryn does it. Taryn, how the fuck are you?
We don't use foul words. There are children out in Cyberland. I'm fucking good. How are you
Girl,
doing?
they seem worse. And they heard worse.
I know. Look at Suzette. We've seen worse. Oh, before you read your tea, I have to tell you. So we're sitting there, and we're talking and getting ready for the show to start. And our lovely sound man over here and our technician doing all the hard work behind the scenes sat there and was telling Suzette, if your hair was as smooth as Taryn's, it would be much easier. And I was all, wow, what a good dig. And I didn't even come up with that.
Oh, he's just sipping water.
Oh, I don't blame you. I'd be sipping water too.
That's what we do on the show when we don't want to.
Oh, this ain't water, girl. This is a cocktail. But
Oh, okay.
Oh, what are we
Even
drinking?
better.
It looks like Gatorade in a bottle.
like to create an illusion. But she's been drinking.
No, we
But
don't
anyways,
drink, we sip.
Exactly. Anyways, there is a job opening right now, and maybe you two can fill in. Word on the curb is Nene Leakes is officially done with Real Housewives of Atlanta. Andy Cohen tweeted that it's official. She's done after 13 seasons, no more. And who else is going to say the iconic lines of, is your wig squeezing your brain too tight, heifer, or close your legs to married men? Who else is going to give us those iconic reality show lines, But honestly, Suzette, I could see you being a Real Housewife of, maybe Alkali Flats or, Del Paso Heights, or maybe let's step it up a little bit. Maybe Rockland or something like that,
I could totally do Rockland.
Yeah.
Can you drive to Rockland?
Yeah.
I'd like to remind you, just because you're white doesn't mean that you belong in Rockland. Yes,
True,
I said it.
True. And, it's the end of the era, but things gonna last for so long. You can only fight the same bitches for so long until it gets tired. And honestly, as a viewer, it's like watching somebody that's been at their job a little too long. We all have that one coworker that's just like, bro, why are you here? Just quit. We're tired of you. Just quit. And it's just like her. So, bless her well, on her own. The next news is Cardi B finally, after almost beating how many of her husband's mistresses' asses, finally filed for divorce. That man is cheating on her with so many different women, and she almost caught a case by fighting one of the mistresses at the strip club that she worked at. And you can cook, you can clean, you can have a WAP, you can do all that though, but if he's not the one, he's just not the one. And I'm finally happy that she left, because no one wants to be in something for years and years and years and years and years when it's just not going to work. So best wishes to her, and hopefully we get a good I Hate Men record out of this. But maybe I'll see one of y'all lip sync it later on. But could you imagine Suzette doing WAP? Could you really imagine that?
I'm going to actually challenge her, or I'm just going to go ahead and tell Pocket to do it one Sunday.
Oh, I could do well. Okay, so I was gonna do some Doja Cat. I know she's not like the preferred person at this point, but I had some Doja Cat planned for October 4th.
I can see you doing that. I can see you doing that. But it would be funny if you did WAP and you knew all the words. I would just be shocked. I would just be like, okay, tip, 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 tip.
I'd like to remind you, if she doesn't know her words, she can pull a Valentina. No one would question it at all.
Just wear a mask and say
it's COVID. It's COVID.
You're setting an example. Exactly. So in other news, the family that I hate talking about, but they keep doing stupid shit, and it's just like, do I have to talk about them? And you know who it is. We all know who it is. Kanye West pissed on his Grammy in the toilet and posted it on Twitter because he says that the record industry is a slave market. And I'm just like, I get what you're saying, because I've seen the TLC Behind the Music story and I know how they rip people off. But sir, you're charging $300 for jail slippers. You're charging $500 for things that we could get a denial just because they have tie-dye on them and they're cut up looking like I went through the rapture. Girl, go sit down, Kanye. Go sit down. Go sit with your wife, kids, and just take care of yourself, because honestly, I really don't think that man is well. I don't think he's well. You know, you ever seen the movie Get Out? And you know how like the man had to like flash the other man with the camera to make him snap out of it? I feel like someone needs to go to the Kardashian compound and just hold their phone and just hit flash on him. And maybe we'll get the Kanye that we had back when he said George Bush doesn't like black people. Because this man, I don't know who this man is. I don't know what's wrong with him, but that's some juju from that and silicone injected booty that Kim has. I don't know, but bless his soul. In the last news, you talked about Carol Baskins on Dancing with the Stars. Did you see what song she danced to?
I did. She danced to Eye of the Tiger.
Which version?
I don't
The
actually
original.
know that.
Oh, that's not her fault. That's somebody else's fault. I mean, you know, like they just like show up and say time to learn a routine, and somebody else decides the music, and they
True.
just go along and oh.
What dance would you dance to Eye of the Tiger? What style?
Oh, I already performed that. I do the female version of that.
But I mean, if you were going to do a ballroom dance, what would you? Because I guess Paso Doble, but
Well, if you're doing Eye of the Tiger, there's so much you can do with it, and they do so many options outside
So
of
many.
just traditional ballroom.
right.
You know, and Clifton, by the way, I know we're still on this subject, but I really have to say I was really kind of felt like you were attacking me with the first two comments. You know, about somebody,
who?
you know, working too long, that coworker that you just wish would leave, and then you came after me and sat there and was talking, you know, stuff about, you
No,
know.
it's not you at all. Not you at all. You don't work at a call center, girl. I used to work with a lady that sat right next to me, and literally she was there for about 15 years, and all day she would just be like, I hate this place, I hate this place. And we'll all just be like, girl, just quit.
Talk to the rest of the staff. They may say that. Go get ready for it.
Exactly. We just say internally, but she said it externally, and it just like drained everybody's battery all day.
Oh,
so.
that does suck. You know, it's one thing to joke about it and have a good time with it and make it kind of like the water cooler. That's what it's called, water cooler. I don't do
Yeah.
corporate America.
Oh, girl, you ain't missing shit. It's. You know, I would love to be able to say, how the fuck are you when I walk into the door at work, when work was open, but you know, we can't do that in corporate world, so. But you guys have it good. You can say whatever you want and kick people out and cuss them out at the same time. It's such a luxury.
No, you know, sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. There are some people who are easily offended. Those people who weren't raised with the fact that your neighbor used to be able to just hit you upside the head for saying the wrong things, and your parents sat there and said, well, did you say it? Well, good, I'm glad they did it. Now everybody's too
Your parents
butthurt.
will whoop you after that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got a question about Kanye. Didn't he
Sure, what's
say?
the question?
Didn't he say slavery was a choice?
Yes, he did. And ever since then, I was just like, okay, you're done.
Well,
You're
right,
done.
but now he's complaining that the record industry is slavery. Like,
That part.
that's confusing, Kanye.
Mm-hmm. It's like pick a storyline, girl.
Right.
Pick an angle. Pick a line that you want to stick in, because you're literally contradicting yourself by your own actions.
Somebody's trying to stay relevant.
I guess, but you know.
I don't know. I have new terms for people.
Well, suburban kids are still always going to pay $300 for jail slippers, so I guess.
No kidding.
Those shoes are
Why?
Have you seen them shoes?
Unfortunately.
You're talking to the person. You're talking to the person. You know you are talking to the person that can't wait until Old Navy has that sale so I can get my 40 pairs of flip-flops for the whole year.
But they're only $1 at Old Navy. They're not $300.
That's the whole point. Like, why am I going to spend $300? I mean, look at Suzette. She spent $6.99 on that hair.
Can you be here every week, Taryn?
Wait, what?
Please?
No. Do you know how hard it was to, like, stay in phase and to actually get into the car to come over here? It was a rough day.
Because
Oh, that's right, because y'all had the 2 shows today, too.
Well, we had the 2 shows, and then we had an employee who chose to not come to work, and so we were dealing with that. And then we were at the bar last night, and people, oh, you should have seen last night. Let me tell you, because you could understand this, Clifton. Mm-hmm. There were amateur drinkers. Now, I give them credit because they did stay within their group, and they all stayed. But amateur drinkers, babies, they don't understand. You do not waste alcohol.
Were they spilling drinks or were they throwing up? What were they doing?
You know, when you hit that nice buzz, at that point you need to just enjoy it and slow down so you can actually enjoy the drink. Mm-hmm. I think they were just trying to see how much they can drink. And at one point you just sit there and go, what's the purpose? I mean, like, enjoy the taste of a drink. Yeah. I saw more Jaeger bombs at one table, and their 50-something-year-old mom is buying drinks for the table, and she's pushing Jaeger bombs, and she's drinking Malibu.
Oh, girl.
And you know Malibu is like 14% alcohol, but she's all, Jaeger bombs, I love you. Going, if you're drunk off of Malibu, there's a problem. So.
See, I also feel like the fact that people couldn't go out for so long, their tolerance has gone down tremendously.
Oh, wait.
But
sitting from the person who has a little water bottle sitting there saying, oh, it's not water, it's alcohol. There's no tolerance there, my young man. There's no water.
Oh, see, just like you, I'm a professional.
I'm not a professional. I'm an amateur. I don't drink.
I could be a booze hound and still keep it together 90% of the time. I could say I probably threw up maybe twice in a 5-year period. So, that's...
And I can guarantee you that you're probably with Chris Borders and he was feeding you drinks.
No, it was more Ryan Pritchard, because Chris Borders doesn't feed us the drinks. It's more Ryan Pritchard. He feeds me the drinks, and he gets us all fucked up. And then I'm sitting at home with a bag of Taco Bell on the floor, wondering how did I get home?
God, now I'm hungry for Taco Bell.
I was just going to say that, throwing up drinks is just the body's way of saying, don't have a hangover tomorrow.
No.
Yeah, and I felt blessed and highly favored the next day, though. But then when it came out and I had to clean it up, it was not a good time.
That's why you do it at the bar and you have a bar back clean it up.
No, you do it at home on a doggy potty pad, and then you just wrap it up.
I don't want to shit where I eat.
Well, that's why you do it in the shower and no one knows. You just turn on the shower and cross your fingers.
That's really the best. I agree. Yeah, hot water washes everything away.
I've seen that, and it wasn't me.
Oh, girl. Well, anyways, that was all the tea that I had. My cup is dry now. My cup is empty, so I have to refill it. But thank y'all for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Nice chatting with you. I actually enjoyed that.
Yes. You definitely have to come back. Suzette, please have her come back.
Oh, look, I forgot to say this at the start of the show. She is welcome anytime she wants. But, like she said, we were setting up for brunch last night at 3 in the morning.
We finished at 3 in the morning.
And then we had brunch. She was there at 6?
7.
7, which is not much better than 6. And then
y'all got to sleep.
We co-hosted 2 shows, and they were great. We're happy, but we tired.
Never tired, fatigued. If you want to see tired, we'll name some other people, but I'm not part of that category.
We are fatigued. And
we'll say that for next time.
So if Taryn ever wants to come back, she knows where I am every Sunday night, and she's always welcome to take a ride over.
I just don't want to be accused of us, not social distancing and being too close to each other. And, there are some people who just will attack you for that. Just saying.
Messy.
We spilling tea.
We spilling tea.
Messy. I'm staying out of that.
You know
I
I
don't want
love
no
you.
smoke.
There
I
was
don't want no smoke from these queens because I got to bump into them and I got to see them and I ain't trying to fight nobody.
not one of them from Sacramento, please. Those queens
Yeah,
are,
no.
everybody's being respectful, and I gotta love that. If they're gonna come for me, they usually do it through other people.
Ooh. David's just over here like, I don't understand. I don't get it. This is...
I do love that. I love that me and Dave is like, because you obviously know Taryn, and Taryn knows you, and I know both of you. And me and Dave, who we're going to get to in a minute or two here, he doesn't know Taryn, as far as I know. But, you know, he's one of my favorite people, and Taryn's one of my favorite people, and you're one of my favorite people. So he's just enjoying the tea spilling, I think.
Wow, she's up to 3 friends.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd count Chelsea as a friend. She won't be here tonight, which is really sad, Clifton, because you know that no one likes to read me as hard as Chelsea, except Taryn.
She just does it so effortlessly. That's why I leave it up to her. So
I have to work hard at it. I mean,
no, you don't.
I woke
it's not
up.
that hard.
I woke up. Oh, wait, that was a good dig on that one. You just sat there and said it wasn't hard to read her.
I'd miss that.
We know.
I want to go back to last week when everyone was complimenting me and saying I was their favorite person and I was smart and funny.
Oh, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
All right, well, bye, Suzette. Bye, Taryn.
Thanks for coming on, Clifton.
Hi,
Love
Clifton, love you.
you. Talk to you soon.
Drink for me.
Peers and Queers, that was Clifton Ellison. His information was below him. Was it below him, Jesse? It was below him on the screen. And if you want to send him some coin or some love, that's how you can send it to him. And once again, thank you to Taryn for being here. We'll get to the rest of the show. But before I go any further, thank you for coming on after 2 brunches and setting up and being fatigued. Also, I forgot to mention that I wasn't able to stop and get a Ruth Bader Ginsburg t-shirt today, but I wore this one because it says, "Nope, not today." And that is my way of saying, I dissent. Also, thank you to Jesse for setting up this lovely new extra large studio that we have. Look at us. Well, okay, you look good. I look the same, just with more space.
He set up more space because I'm fat. He needed a white screen.
She reads herself. Okay, and with that, we're going to get to one of my other favorite people and favorite contributors, Peers and Queers. Welcome to the show, Mean Dave.
Hello, testing. Are we working?
We are. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. I almost didn't know if there was a show. Luckily, thanks to Clifton. My bad. Sorry, Clifton. I checked his page and then I was like, there's a show. Good. Or I don't know how I found it. I found it. Clifton posted it and all that because I wasn't in the chat. I know how you guys. I can tell that you're tired. I'll put it that way, Suzette. I know you're tired because normally you're on top of this show. Ever since we moved to 5, you are on top of letting us know about this show 5 minutes before it airs. And that's so I was waiting. It was 4:55, and I'm like, all right, I didn't get a message, and I'll take a shower. Took a shower, got out of the shower, still didn't see the message, and I was like, and I'm lazy, so I'm more of like, oh, maybe I'll just skip this week and let things, it's the evil of inaction. That's what it's called. And then I was like, I got a guilty conscience. So then I checked because you tagged me in a Instagram flyer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what reminded me. And so I was like, well, unless she's dead or unless something happened, and I saw Clifton's post for it that was like an hour ago. And I'm like, okay, she's probably alive.
No,
And,
Dave, I'm sorry to interrupt. She actually 5 minutes before decided that she needed to use the restroom, and that was her priority.
That. Believe me, I would have done the same. I mean, we all know. I mean, the 3 people that watch this show can wait. Like we know that.
Wow, Clifton told you can wait.
Yeah. So, but no, it was cool. And what I was laughing at was that I know exactly what you're talking about of having that people have respect by talking shit about you through other people, because that's what I was laughing at. I'm like, that's know that feeling. I actually got to do a Zoom show last night that was for a recovery event, and I've been sober now. It'll be 7 years, September 29th. And last night was the first time that I really wanted to get high and drink, just to spite this one bitch who was running the show that I was doing. Because I didn't even know that this chick had any part in the show until like about an hour beforehand. And believe me, they meant well. They were doing good work for, I guess, because it was an event for addicts, alcoholics, Al-Anon, all that shit. Also, it was about diversity, so they had like Spanish translators, sign language interpreters, all that shit. And about an hour before the show, we were told that now the whole show was revolving around the fact that we had only one sign language interpreter. Normally they have two, so they can trade off. They're kind of like, if you ever watch hockey, they're like hockey lines. Like they do 10-minute shifts because their hands get tired and they get exhausted from talking with their fucking hands and shit. And it makes perfect sense. And they lost one of the translators. So now one translator was going to have to do the whole show. And so they needed a break. And then also what was great was that these two hack comics that I know from New York that did the last show I did with these people, they dropped out because they thought it was a good idea to have a comedy show at 10 p.m. And which in East Coast time is 1 a.m. So that solved that problem because the New York hacks didn't want to be up that late. And I was like, no problem. That's good. Cuts down on time because we had to be over by 11:15 because that's when the sign language interpreter apparently returns to their coffin. They have to be in that's vampires come out at night. Never mind. It's a bad joke. So anyway, so we're doing, and I hosted this fucking thing. I got asked to host this thing. I got shafted because we were doing this show for free, asking for tips as we do on this show. Of course, it's God bless anybody. The 2 times I've been tipped from this show. But this one, we had a nice audience on it, but I'm hosting the show and we've got a total of 4 comics. And when you're hosting a show that's tip-based, you're pretty fucked. Because not only is everybody late, but I'm technically the warm-up guy, and I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I was probably the best comedian on the lineup, if we were to have a comedy competition. But I love the people that were on the 2 comics that I know that were on it. I love them. They were cool, and it was actually in the end it was really good for them to be like kind of showcased at the high point of the show. In the end, I felt I had to go into my recovery brain and be like, it was good to be of service and all that shit. But even though I don't know how you perceive me. Do I seem like some testosterone laced motherfucker? Like I'm some bro, blah blah blah, get in the kitchen, woman. Like, do I seem like one of those assholes? Okay, well, no, your guest seems to think so.
I don't know you well enough to ever judge you like that.
I can't speak for first impressions, but
first impressions are important. I think she has a point because that's what this girl who was running the show last night, I think she kind of got that impression from me. Plus the name doesn't help. The Mean Dave name, even though it's like I do make a point, it's meaningful. David, I started off with that shit, and then maybe going into some child trafficking jokes didn't help. Maybe I mean, who knows? It's hard to say.
But I wouldn't say like when I heard Mean Dave, I was all like, oh, this is going to be kind of fun and quirky. Quirky because of Suzette.
It is exactly.
And I go, but you can't let's be honest. You already heard what I said to Clifton. I'm mean. So for me, it is not my place to, and I don't judge, so I assess. It is not my place to assess and say that you wouldn't be a fun person. Because when I looked over, because I'm trying to figure out, like, where do I look over there? Do I look over here? So I'm looking at you on the screen. I'm going, I can't wait to hear what he has to say, because it's either going to be juicy, it's going to push the gamut, because I know personally I have no problem offending people, because I've come to that point saying I offend everybody. It's okay. I hate you all equally. That way you can't sit there and say I play favorites. Ask my staff. Everybody I love, I volunteer them everything they have to do.
Mm. Yeah, and to be fair too, again, to her, she really wasn't like the thing was she it had to do with the running of the Zoom. We had like 15 cooks in the kitchen, all of them not knowing how to operate Zoom, and I didn't know who was in charge of spotlighting, and then you had to pin the fucking the ASL translator in the corner if you were deaf or whatever. There were a lot of complicated things, and no one let me know who was in charge of it. So I thought maybe I was the one who had to do that shit. And so next thing you know, I had like 3 different people. You know, the beginning of Office Space when Peter has like 5 different guys come up to him and said, did you know we're putting a cover letter on the TPS reports from now? Did you get the memo? That's what I had like right at the beginning of the show. Like I had about 5 people telling me in direct messages, you don't spotlight, don't do this, don't do that, whatever the fuck. And I just and then I thought I was directly messaging somebody, and I said, I'm not touching anything for the rest of the show. And that message went out to everybody. So I didn't mean it to, but and I still hosted fine. The show went well overall. But this girl kept sending me direct messages trying to like explain her situation or something, and I'm just grateful I have a show where I can bitch about another show. And that was what I was like, you know what, I need to unload this shit, because then I talked to the guy who booked me for it, and he's a good friend of mine from recovery, very good guy, does a lot of service within the structure of all this shit, and I was talking to him, and he's had to deal with her even more and couldn't stand her even more. So I learned it wasn't just me, because the first thing I remember him bitching about her earlier too, but I didn't quite. I was like, oh, maybe he's just overreacting. Who knows? And then I found out real fast. And then the thing was during the intermission, so the ASL guy could recharge his hands. I had to. We had dead air, and then they were advertising their merchandise for their event. And then we had just 2. We had me, another dude, and then the 2 ladies that we had on the lineup. And then this girl ends up like giving her little like spiel, trying to be a comedian, and she was awful open micing it, saying, all right, well now we got some, and granted, it's fine, saying that they're pretty. It's like, yeah, they were or whatever. But even we get so much flack as dudes. You're not supposed to mention gender or the appearance of somebody. I'm very careful whenever I host, like bringing up a comedian, like, oh, this next, she's a lovely lady, and da 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 da, and we've had hosts come up and say like, oh yeah, your next comedian's got great tits, like they've had that shit happen. I'm very mindful of that shit, and so instead I got brought up by some wokester, basically trashing we had me and another guy who was basically just he's one of your bear-looking nerds. Like he's a nerd. He's just a nerd that's furry. I can tell. He's got toys and shit. We're not alphas, all right. We're not some dudes that are like, we're not watching sport. We're not even talking about that shit. We're not saying derogatory things about women or anything else like that. We're pretty fucking conscientious. And we got. I just love how she said, all right, well, now we've had so much testosterone on the fucking show. We had 2 comics, for fuck's sake. 2 comics. And yes, we were the early part of the lineup. So the women are the highlight of the fucking night. And they were the more experienced comics. So and it was just one of those things where, and I'm technically at this point, I'm doing the thing for free because I hadn't got shit yet. And so in the end, I just told my buddy, I was like, don't ever ask me to do this shit for free again. That's what I told my buddy. But in the end, it worked out fine. I was frustrated, and it's not like I couldn't take a joke or anything. It's like, make it a good joke, like make it something. She knew really quick. I guess her joke bombed, or I don't know what the fuck. I wasn't even paying attention, but I heard her confidence deflating, and she did what every open micer did. She just kept digging herself a deeper hole and a deeper hole, and it was awesome. There was no whack nowhere near that bitch. Not one bit. It was dry, desert dry. And then I got some feedback from the people who watched the show. There were people that enjoyed it, but the vast majority of people were like, yeah, So, but I was happy. My friends had some. They did fine. I'm not throwing shade on them. It was mainly just I had an attitude problem once I had to deal with this one figure, and it's a Zoom show.
It's okay.
So,
we all have attitudes. We all have attitudes. Just in the future, if you are short an ASL person, let me know. Contact me. I will get in full drag, and I know the dirty words.
Oh, that would be awesome. Oh, no shit. That'd be great.
I can just sit there for 10 minutes and do dirty words to allow somebody the opportunity to get prepared. And all I have to do is just say the word and do the motion. Believe me, I'm a professional at that.
Couldn't they just have a caption person? Like maybe.
What's funny? That should have been. Closed captioning is so much easier.
Yeah, because you can type for days. You're not
no idea why they didn't do. I think it was just part of their event of inclusiveness. They were trying to. They try to make people feel more included through that. And here was the thing. One of the messages that I never responded to the entire time I saw it. She was saying how her deaf comedian friend was saying how much it means a lot to the 5 people who are deaf watching a comedy show because it's too expensive for them to get an interpreter to go to a regular comedy show. And I said, wait a minute. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you just said your deaf comedian friend. Don't you think you could have just set up a literal deaf comedy jam for just the deaf people where the deaf comedian could have done a deaf comedy show for them? Not had an interpreter. You could have kept us able-bodied dumb motherfuckers out because you didn't want us there in the first place, let alone the ones with dicks. And so why you could have just done this the way you wanted and not had me involved at all. Because I'm of the mindset, if somebody makes me feel unwanted, I don't want to be there either. And for the most part, she was like, it was funny because if the show had less cooks in the kitchen, it would have ran fine without any of this. But because the show more or less was focusing more. I was giving it up more for the ASL motherfucker who was getting like at least $100 an hour to be working on this fucking thing because they pay for that service, but they don't pay for the comedians. Which is, I'm not even faulting that because the way they look at it, they're looking like, well, the comedians are alcoholics and addicts. So this just is good for exposure. It's that usual horse shit, which I talked to my buddy and I said, this is why I don't like to do free shows for the most part, because I don't know if it's going to be fun or not. If it's fun, you can't guarantee something to be fun. It has to do with your attitude. And so I can make my attitude, I can have fun not having fun. But if I'm going into a situation, I'm doing it gratis for like as a charitable thing, I want to have the power to make it fun. This bitch was taking all that power away. And at that point I was like, let's get the show over with. And I did. And we had like we had a hard out at 11:15. We were done by 11:04. And she was trying to tell me like, we can go to 11:15. And I wasn't even going to answer. I'm like, no, this show's as soon as the last comic's done, I'm out of here. I don't want to be here any longer than I have to be. So, I'm here longer on your show. So, which I got to go because I got to go run my show. So anyway, thanks for letting me fucking bitch and complain. I hope we didn't lose any viewers in the process because I know you got a wonderful guest there and you got a lot of positive energy between the two of you.
Don't worry, it's just Clifton who left.
All right, awesome.
Dave, thanks so much. Thanks for coming on the show, and I can't wait to introduce you guys in person when you're able to come up for a brunch.
We will talk shit. We will talk mad shit. We'll be good.
Oh yeah,
Chelsea will rate you in person.
Yeah, so. You guys will like each other. It'll be great.
So enjoy your show. Have a good one.
Have a great weekend, you guys. Have a great rest of the weekend.
You too. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, he's funny. I like him.
Oh yeah, the show has like he and Clifton doesn't do comedy, as you know, but Chelsea and me and Dave.
Oh no, Clifton does comedy. Listen to what he says.
Oh no, he does comedy, but not like
not traditional stand-up.
Right. But Mean Dave and Chelsea, who's usually on the show, who won't be here tonight, like I said, which is a bummer, because nobody reads me harder and faster than the two of you. So that would have been fun. But they're great comedians. And here I have with me with the best drag queen in Sacramento, Northern
Just
California.
one of the old ones.
Just one. Okay, I mean, you can be modest. But ladies and gentlemen, in studio with me, you can see her in regular times hosting Fridays Are a Drag at Badlands. And during COVID, you can catch her every Sunday, 2 shows a day, Makeup and Mimosas at Badlands. Taryn Thru-U.
Hi. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm still awake. Your monologue almost put me out.
Sometimes it's good. Not today, though.
Your monologue was fine. It just went over my head. I'm a blonde.
Oh, I'm always the blonde.
It's all natural.
What have you been up to during the pandemic?
I've been doing lots of sewing, lots of mask making. I have realized when I hit my low moments, and I think everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody is having low moments. And so what I learned is that's the right time to shut down for the day and watch TV, maybe run through fast food and get the worst crap you can eat, and take a moment to regenerate yourself. Because I think the hard part is that we're all trying to make it through, and then we're all going, oh my God, I missed this. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I'm all like, this is going to go through next summer. And they're like, don't say that. And I said, I'm being honest. Like, I'd rather be like, oh, this is going to go through next September, and all of a sudden it ends in June, and you're all like, ooh, and I'm like, yay, we're done early. But versus like in September, it's still around, and we're all depressed again, going, I'd rather be depressed now, so when it's all said and done, I don't have to look back at it.
Expectations.
It is, and I think that's the hard part is people we're trying to stay optimistic, but how about we stay real and have a mixture? Like, some people are like, oh, I've gained weight. So you gained weight. What can you do to change it? I had somebody who was like really upset the other day and was saying how he gained weight. And I was looking at him going, you went from a 31 to a 32. And I've not seen that waist size since what? I was in college? I'm 48 years old. I was like in college when I was, let's not go back that far. But anyway, I was looking at the fact going, you look good. Like, I'd sleep with you. I'd sleep with a lot of people. But no, so that's my thing is like, I'm just kind of day by day. I make masks. I talk to friends. I watch lots of TV. I bought a new TV and figured out that I can put the internet on it. So Pornhub is my friend. I was all like, wow, look at that. And then I was playing around with the projector for work and found out, I was like, oh, let's get up to the DVD player because, we want to do a movie night. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, whatever's on's going to play. And I was like, oh, my God, that's what porn looks like on a movie screen. But no, I'm kidding.
So you mentioned you made masks. I thought, I'm estimating, because I've been there some of the time that you've been making masks, 1,000?
Oh no, 1,000 was the first.
Oh wow.
2 weeks.
So how many do you think you've made?
Probably almost 2,000, but that's because I've slowed down. And then I have a clothes rack of fabric options just because I see something cute and I'm like, oh, let me get that. And then I do nothing with it. Kind of like the Elsa fabric I have for you that I still haven't made the mask. Sorry.
That's okay. I mean, when you've made 2,000 masks, I think you get burnt out a little bit.
No, I made 4 more yesterday for my COVID hookup. So let's just be very honest. It depends on my mood.
Oh, well, hey, we talk about hookups a lot on the show, especially with Chelsea.
That's why I love her.
So I'm all for everyone's hookups. I'm just envious that I'm not getting any hookups. But
well, you just have to sleep with more crazy people, and then you get as many hookups as you want.
I'm a track record with crazy people.
That's the problem.
So you also made some music videos.
Oh my God! I didn't even think you'd bring that up. I did. I was asked to do a virtual show, which I wasn't doing any like virtual anything. Like I'm like, I don't got time for that. I'd rather watch TV and gain some weight and eat my bonbons and my Mike and Ikes and my Milk Duds and my sugar daddies and sugar babies. I'm sorry. And that really was a mistake, and that wasn't by accident. But anyway, so I decided to go ahead and do one, and then went over the top, like decided to go political and stuff like that, and then started doing some other ones and having fun with it. And so I think I have a couple more that I'm supposed to get done that I'm trying to be very creative, because I think I'm over, and I said this to, and I have no problem saying this to anybody, and I don't care if you do a virtual show or any of that crap. I'm over those queens who stand in front of their same wall, their same kitchen table or whatever, and do the same performance to a different song, you know. And then I find out that there's a drag queen, a bio queen, so it's a female who also does drag, but as a girl, who on her phone did this whole Disney, like the whole haunted mansion with the ghost and everything, but she was the ghost, like on her cell phone. And I go, that's creative. And so that's why I've been trying to be more creative about my performances, because I just am to that point that if you're going to produce a product, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be worth something. So down the line, and let's be honest, anything on Facebook, anything that's on the internet, it lasts. It comes back to haunt you. It could either be a good haunt or it could be a bad haunt. So why put the bad stuff out there? I mean, it's bad enough Suzette's here week after week. You know, like, why put anything else to go up with that? So I've been trying to be very creative. And let's be honest. So if you didn't know, Suzette usually films for me, and then we have two different friends that help put it all together. So usually it's kind of like us playing around, going in. Suzette's found some awesome locations to do live stuff at, and then some of it was us. She doesn't sleep, like she sleeps for 3 hours, so like at midnight she's all, oh, I found this really cool place to look at while I was running, and I'm all, who goes running at this hour of night? I'm like in bed or sleeping or eating.
I gotta keep these legs.
Oh, so I'm not keeping my legs. I'm just, putting more hip pads to get them wider.
So no, you have made some really cool videos. And one of them got, like over 1,000 views in 24 hours?
Yeah, that one shocked me.
Yeah.
Like, and that's an emotional one. Like, I get emotional over that video.
Yeah.
And it was really... like, when you're putting together a video that has meaning behind it, and it's something that's important, especially right now, because it's Pink, What About Us? So it deals with trans and Black Lives Matters and COVID. And so, there are some people who are getting hit 3 ways. And my sisters, and I can say sisters because they've probably known me before I ever did drag. There are some really good friends of mine who used to protect me when I was just the one carrying the suitcase for the drag queens and the performers. And so it was a lot. And so when you're in that, when you're in the technical part of it, you don't really pay attention. You're like, oh, I don't like that. I want to do that. Or, like I had 50 something cuts in the original what I wanted, and then that got changed to what was realistic. And part of it was that it was 11 o'clock at night and I just wanted to get out of drag and stop videoing. But, so we cleaned it up and changed it, made it a little smarter. And then I watched it live, like when it was put onto that virtual show. And I was
on DJ Pocket Show.
Yeah,
right?
DJ Pocket Show for his Pride Nights in Vacaville. And it was emotional for me because I just wasn't prepared to sit and watch the message. And then, then there's my fun ones, like, like I did, we did a one take, like literally played the music. We walked it a couple of times, but then we played the music and we filmed it from beginning to end, and it just moved within a space of probably like 100 feet in the space we were working at. And literally, what if I didn't hit the light? Well, then I was in the shadows. But like we literally walked it and was like, you should stand here for this. And then literally did one take and then handed it to the person who in 2 minutes put the music right on, because they just had to figure out when the music should start properly. And then boom, it was done like within seconds.
Yeah, no, that one was fun. And people can see both of these videos on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, they can also see the one where I had to teach people how to check for counterfeits. That's on that one too. It's like if you have like those dollar bills, you can scratch the collars of the presidents, and usually if it's very fine lines but raised ink, that's real money.
Well, you can make emotional videos and one-take videos and check for counterfeit bills. What can't she do?
I do porn, by the way, but those are private.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Unlisted.
speaking of some of the stuff Taryn's been doing, I wanted to make sure you were getting some of the comments in here.
Yeah.
It was Kathleen Welch Espinoza.
Oh, hey.
I love her.
Complimenting the masks to match drag dresses that you those that are.
Oh
saying
my
those are so
gosh.
cool.
So I had scraps left from different dresses I had made. And I had a friend who said, I want a sequin mask. And I was like, oh, I don't have that stuff. And he's all, no, please. And I found scraps, and I couldn't believe that I made these ones to match. And I ended up sending them to some really good dear friends. One's in Florida, has it, and somebody who's in the Chico area. And I need to check on them and see how they are affected with the smoke and everything in their lives.
Sure.
But yeah, so it was kind of interesting and fun. And yeah, wow, I totally forgot about those.
It's been a long quarantine.
It has been I'm going to say that it is a beginning to you figuring out your life, because I'm tired of figuring it out for you. Get your shit together, because when we get out of this thing, if you come back to where I work and you still are a shit show, there's a problem. And I'm going to wreck somebody's world.
That's going to make co-hosting brunch with you awkward.
Oh, please. You're going to be laughing so hard, because I come after everybody. The Filipino woman today sat there and asked her daughter if she was just like my mom. Did she ask you the same question 20 times in 2 phone calls because she can't remember? Does she know how to use her phone that you just showed her the same thing? As in, my mom is not watching, thank God, because she hasn't figured out after I've shown her how to find this stuff.
I think that's all parents.
Oh, no, there are some good parents that know how to use their phones. I'm not one of them, though.
I've never met them. You did talk about something that we've talked often about on the show, because this is our 23rd show, and some of the youth call that the Jordan Show. So I just want to say that appropriately we have the GOAT in the studio. That's GOAT in a good way, as the youth do. Anyway.
She just called me an animal?
It's the greatest of all time.
That's what Blake calls me, she-beast.
Usually I'm
She-beast.
the old person on the show. You're skewing.
I thought the guy next to me was the older one.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. I should never, ever just assume ages.
Yeah, I think I've got 6 years on you, Taryn. So I'm in the middle here right now.
Are you older than I am?
No, that's what I'm saying.
6
I'm
years younger.
Oh, you're 6 years
on. Yeah.
Oh, you really
Jesse's
did make
right
me
between us.
Yeah.
No, he's not right behind. Yeah, no. One, I don't do things with drag queens, and straight boys are too much effort.
So the thing that we've talked about on the show in 23 episodes is exactly what you mentioned. Because as you know, and as the audience at this point clearly knows, I do stand-up comedy and I perform in drag shows. And when COVID happened, both those worlds kind of had to shutter, and we've all had to figure out how do we keep performing. And I have talked with drag queens from New York to everywhere to hear about other drag queens that do exactly what you said. They stand in the kitchen and they lip sync in front of their fridge. And I always say, if it was me, I would do Stupid Love and pull out some bread and some peanut butter and some jelly, and I'd make a sandwich, because that would be more compelling to me to watch than dancing in front of the fridge.
Well, okay, so
That wouldn't be my goal. But if I was going to do it, at least I'm not pretending it's a club and dancing the same act over and over.
No, and I get that. And I give credit to all those. There are a lot of performers out there who build a stage in their homes, their apartments, outside. And I'm not digging on any one person, because who am I to sit there and talk shit about things like that? And let's make that very clear, because I mean, I know that I am a bitch. I would use the C word, but I'm trying to be polite for those people who may not approve of that word. But please realize I use the K version, because it's special.
Oh, I
K.
thought you meant conservative. I'm joking.
Far from conservative. But I think my thing is that if you're going to do it, put a little effort into it so that you show respect to those people who are watching, because you expect them to tip you. And, I just think that those people who just feel that they deserve a tip because they took the time to create a video. No, the person who deserves a tip is a person who took the effort to have respect for the people watching. And if you're not going to do that, then just stay and just do other stuff. Like, it about killed me that I'm making masks, and please realize that I know I sold them, but I generally sold them at, pretty much at cost. Like, it was something I was doing, and, then I gave a ton away for free because, especially if you're in the health industry, or, I have a friend who, my COVID hookup, that's now a teacher, and he needs to have multiple masks. So that's why I was cranking them out, because he needed to have more. But then I see these queens that can sew immaculately, who should get paid more for their masks, versus whining on a virtual drag show that they didn't get tipped, going, well, did you put effort into it? Because I watched one, I about fell over. She decided that she's in her little dance leotard. She is feeling her oats. That's a goat. She is feeling herself, and she is going to town with the head flips and hairography. And then she decided to make the mistake of doing a kick. And as she did a kick, I saw the Uggs on her feet.
Oh, no.
Bitch, if you were going to try to act like you were in heels, fine. I am very honest. Right now, I have my shoes off. They are in front of me. I am relaxing with my feet, comfortable. It's been a long day. But I am not going to sit there and all of a sudden try to act like, oh, yes, give me those tips. Oh, she has Uggs on. If you are doing flats, you better be doing some turns. You better be doing some groundwork. I better be seeing something. But there's, okay, so I'm going to do a plug. There is a transgender, and she's open about that, and so I'm using that term. But I love to refer to her. There is a lovely, beautiful woman in Canada who does impersonations, and her name is Jaylene Tyne. And she's gorgeous, and I've known her for years, and it was funny. I just recently reconnected with her at a charity event, and she'll do a whole Dolly Parton set where she's Dolly Parton for the whole show, and she brings other performers in, and that to me is putting effort. And yes, she's been doing it for a little bit of time, 10 minutes, 50 years. No, she's not that old, but that's putting effort, even though she knows it's a virtual show and she really, she has that fan base. She's having enough respect for those people to really put a product out there that's worth it. You take the time to write out your monologue. You take the time to write out your jokes. There's an order to your show. This young man next to me, because he's 6 years younger than me, comes in here and he's setting things up ahead of time so we can walk in and I can sit in my chair and go, look. And he's just laughing about it. But have a little respect for those people who you want them to watch you and take tips. So I'm just saying that out. I don't care if you are offended by what I say, because I didn't come after you personally and attack you. But, have respect if you want your product to be out there and you want it to be decent. You're going to have bad days. We all have them. I mean, I have them. My wig has flown off. I've had bad hair. I've had the outfit rip. We've all had that, but you're still thinking, what is my product? We used to make fun of Suzette because she's always kind of disarrayed. And then Suzette has always said this is kind of her thing. This is what she does. This is her self-image. This is her aesthetic. And it works for her. But if this was how she was acting because she wasn't taking the time to figure it out, that'd be different. Like, she thinks about it. And so, yes, I'm complimenting you, and Chelsea would be very upset that I'm not digging for you.
So mad right now.
Well, maybe she should bake me a cake because she hasn't yet, and I asked her for one.
Oh.
But anyway, well, I mean, or did you not ask her? Because I told you I wanted a cake for a charity event. You didn't ask her, did you?
I don't think so. I don't remember you asking me.
We were talking about a charity event where we were going to do a cake auction. And I said, oh, ask her, because you showed me the one where she made the cake with the...
With
was
the
it
dick.
No, wasn't she the one with the cell phone messages?
Yeah, it was the dick cake.
Oh, that was the dick cake?
Mm-hmm.
I only remember the cell phone messages. I don't remember dick. Unless I slept with them last night.
Well, that would be my fault then, because I didn't ask.
No, it's okay. Chelsea and I will talk shit about you later, and she can talk shit about me.
Oh, we could do a whole show of just that.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine you in the center, me on other side roasting you? Oh, that would be a blast.
Well, just to put it out there is going to come a time where Chelsea and me and Dave are going to come to Sacramento, and they're going to come to brunch and then come into studio. And I thought, why would we have a guest if I have them in studio? So if you want to come back that day, Clifton would like it.
Oh, but that's Clifton, and Clifton sometimes, drinks. She drinks,
Well, I think what you were saying, and I don't want to talk about it too much because I want to hear more of your thoughts and not my own. But just to respond, if you want to wear Uggs in a video, wear Uggs in a video, but make the video a music video, like you've
or make
done.
it appropriate for what you're trying to do.
Right. Like it's and that's kind of what we've, as a consensus, we've come to that with the other comedians and queens that I've talked to, is you have to adjust to the medium. That you're not on stage, you're not, it's not Friday night, you're not in Badlands. Don't pretend you are. Unless you film in, so that's another question that I had. And I'll put a pin in that because you did film in Badlands like you were there on a Friday night.
Oh, yeah, we did.
But really quick, before we get to that, are you going to make any more videos? Can your fans look forward to any more?
So I did a performance today that I was supposed to do a video for before, and it's Pink Slut Like You.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing it with two friends who have an OnlyFans page, but they're launching, and they have never launched it in Sacramento, but they live here, but they've launched it in other cities. Mm. And I said, how fun would that be to be totally talking about being a slut, and it's me, and I'm watching my friends on, and they're my friends, that's the worst part. So I kind of laugh when I see anything with them, because I'm like, oh, you're the bottom for him? Oh.
It sounds like a video you'd film at midnight, so I'm there.
No, they're boys. You wouldn't want to watch boys.
Well, I mean, just not watch them, but film you watching them.
No, I know. And then I actually am doing a virtual charity event, and their theme is villains. And the one I normally do, somebody already has. So I was asked to do the magic mirror from Snow White. And, I could do Christina Aguilera, Vanity. And then we decided, no, we need to change this up. So we figured out the perfect song is Lizzo's Juice. I mean, come on. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Like, who does not want to sit there and see a mirror get cracked?
Well, the fans can look forward to it. But back to what I was just saying, you filmed a Fridays Are a Drag, which to any viewers that don't know already, that is probably, I would say, the pinnacle of drag shows in Sacramento. It is the show that everyone wants to go to and every performer wants to be in. So you recreated that over the summer because there were no shows and people wanted shows.
Well, there were shows. I mean, let's
there were virtual shows.
There's virtual shows. I think what's hard is that when you have virtual shows, you have those technology issues where sometimes the video doesn't work. Or I think some of my favorites are where they have it set up with the person performing and all the comments are scrolling over them. So you really don't even get to see the performance. You get to read the comments.
Instagram.
Yes, queen. And you're all sitting there going, yeah, cover the MC. We don't care about them at that moment. So I wanted to do a traditional show, and we just recorded every performance, and then we YouTubed it, and then we posted the link. Because when you watch certain shows, and I read people like normal, like Clifton got it, and they were laughing because my goal was to recreate with nobody there what was happening, and I still made fun of myself. Like all of a sudden there was an ambulance going by and I was talking about that because I would have done that in a normal show. So like, why try to act as, like I was like, how the fuck are you, Badlands? And there's nobody here. Like, I wasn't trying to act like there was an audience there, even though while we were all performing, because I had two real good friends who are part of our drag brunch.
They've both been on the show. So the audience probably...
Apple Adams and Helen Heels, both did the show with me. And actually, Suzette filmed it. But we did the show, and we were laughing because we're so used to, like, reacting to people. So, like, do you just look straight at the camera, or do you act like somebody's over there? And so we kind of made fun about the whole situation. And we didn't realize how tired we were by the end. But let me tell you, we had to refilm my first video or my first performance 3 times, and all of my intros and outros, because we didn't take the time to look at the film footage after the first take of anything to realize that my makeup came out a little dark, and it was considered probably borderline inappropriate, even though it was I had been in the sun. So like, I literally am Filipino, and when I'm in the sun, I get dark. But it looked, even for me, I was like, that's really inappropriate. And so we were like, okay, we need to really adjust the lighting to be respectful. So like, we literally did takes over, and we're all like, okay, that was really bad. We need to redo that one. Or we looked at different things. But because, what you see live is different from what you see on film. And at least I was trying to be very respectful for the fact going, the last thing I want to do is be accused of being inappropriate, blackface or something like that, when it literally was, I got a tan on that one.
Well, that and the lighting. The
lighting was weird. We thought it was cute. Like, in person, if you saw it at a show, it was cute. And then all of a sudden we looked on the camera, and I was all like, ooh, that is not cute. So we retook all those, and some of them we took like 2, 3 times, just because it just, yeah. But it was fun. It was totally worth it. It was something enjoyable, and people missed it. And I was saying we were going to do it again each month, but then I was all like, no, it was fun. It was the novelty of it. And then we actually started focusing on Drag Brunch to try to make that happen with the new changes and outside.
Yeah. Well, that was actually my next question.
Okay.
I love that you're hitting all my questions in order. But really quick before we get there, no, you answered. I was going to say, did you enjoy it even though it wasn't live? But you just said you did enjoy it, filming the virtual show.
I think I enjoyed the comments as they were happening. Seeing on Facebook somebody responding to sitting there going, oh, you did not just read her. And then all of a sudden 2 seconds, and it was like one of those little live feeds, and all of a sudden you see going, oh, and then realize that he just got nailed for it too within that same thing. But it was more about, that show's been around over 10 years. And I just refuse to let it disappear. And I go, no, yeah, I should be doing it monthly. But, after a while, like, okay, there's so many options. And so we took a break.
Yeah, and last week we had a comedian in studio, actually, Emma Haney, and she hasn't done stand-up comedy in, Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong, she hasn't done it since March. She did like one Zoom show that she's not really counting it.
Yeah, she's done a couple, like a Zoom show, and she did the Animal Crossing stand-up show,
right.
but otherwise, yeah.
But and she's really good too. But she's been coming in here. Do you know Animal Crossing? The video game? No. I'm going to say no.
I know the one where the fish, but that's not Animal Crossing. No, I know which one Animal Crossing it is. Your goal is not to have them all dead by the time you get to the end of that little section.
Is it? There's radishes. I don't know.
They cross roads, and your goal is that they don't get ran over, and you have to do these little things to get to the little wherever the farmer is.
That could be it.
It's on Facebook. It's an ad all the time. Like, I literally look at the ad, and I just go, or YouTube. They will play those things, and I'm like, oh, my God, I can't hit because I refuse to pay for YouTube. refuse.
Yeah, no. But so Emma's been doing. She just plays Animal Crossing. She comes in here and she plays, and she and Jesse kiki while they play Animal Crossing. I mean, they're not kikiing because they're not drag queens, but you know what I mean.
Kiki is just hanging
No,
out,
anyone can
chatting.
kiki. You're right, actually.
I mean, if they're smoking weed, which I don't know if they do, I mean, that's kikiing.
I don't know.
No, not in here.
I plead the fifth.
So she found a different way to perform, and she wants to bring back her shows that she does. But in the meantime, she found something else to do. So kind of the same. And like you mentioned, we started to focus on brunch. So how much fun are you having with a weekly brunch?
Oh my God, it's hard. I'm having a blast, but I was one of those going when we were starting brunch and we're all like, once a month. Oh, maybe we'll go to 2 times a month. And I go, oh, 4 songs in 1 month, 4 costumes, type thing. Like, and then all of a sudden I'm all like, we're doing them every single week. And, I'm all like going, so I'm taking like my tips and I'm like, I love me some Coco Bechamel. Shout out to my girl because I'm paying her what it's worth. And I probably, could even say she could charge more for doing hair and doing wigs. And I feel good about them and I like how I look in them. And that's why shout out to Coco. But then you're like, I need at least one good outfit or an outfit I haven't worn in a while. And then you need that performance and you're all like, I'm going down. What's going to happen like in 3 months when I'm going, oh my God, I don't have another song in me that I can remember. Because, like I'm not like 16 and doing Britney Spears over and over again. After a while, I'm all like, I'm barely making through the performance where I'm not heaving on the side of the stage and there's no stage. Like we're just going down the center. So I can't even lean on somebody because of COVID. I'm all like, oh, but I'm having a blast. Like, I could be tired, but when you get out there and you see those people who just want to be outside and want to do something, so like you were talking about, we were out late last night and like literally, our staff is adjusting to what we're doing. And so we don't know how many people to have on staff. Do we have too many? Then no one's making money because, they're trying to survive. And so we're there and we're cleaning up. And at like 3:00, you're heading to go check on your dogs. I'm going home to get something to eat. By the time you're actually in bed, and I think I probably was in bed asleep by 4:00, and you're probably starting your makeup, because you like to take your time. Like
I do.
Like you'll sit there and like use a brush and then go wash it out completely because you're not going to use it again.
Right.
So, but that's my whole thing. But no, brunch is a blast, and we've already sold out for next week, which is exciting. So now I can tell people going, no, you need to buy the 4th because that's Mercury. And, that's so much fun. And I, like even riding over here in the car, like I got 4 people who are like, do you have tickets for this next show? And I'm going, oh, let's look at the new format because we expanded an extra 10 feet. Like, where can we safely put people? Because I'm still all about, like, I'm trying to keep tables 6 feet apart, and sometimes they're a little closer because they're friends. They're like, oh, there's 8 of us. And I go, we'll put you at 2 4-tops next to each other. But then the next table needs to be a little further away. And, so we're just adjusting. And, I work with the city to change things to make sure it's appropriate and that they don't feel that we're going to be the newest hotspot, because that's the last thing I want to do. Is I want people to come out and enjoy themselves. And that's kind of the fun part. And like today we had a guest performer randomly, screaming from the street. That crazy woman.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I literally came out to do a performance and I decided to start from like the entrance, to surprise everybody. And this crazy woman, and I don't even know if she's homeless. She was just a little off. And she's all, you look like my husband. And I was all like, wow. And this couple who was sitting in this eating area for another business was laughing. And what could I say? Like, it was funny. And then, of course, she went over towards them, and that poor little baby, the mom got up and started pushing that stroller away from her. And I was like, well, now you get to deal with her, and I can get ready to perform.
It's funny until it happens to you. What's funny is I was talking to Apple and she said, because we're doing Disney next week, and she said, are we doing 2 Disney songs or 1? And I said, well, it's up to you. but I'm doing 2 because I'm going to run out of songs. Like, if I can do 2 Disney songs now, I might need to do more Disney songs at some point at a not Disney brunch because there are only so many songs.
Well, there's a ton of Disney songs, but the problem is there's only so many good Disney songs. Like you and I were talking about, like Frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Can you really do something from Frozen 2? Because not many people will recognize it. And when you do a Disney brunch show, you kind of want to do things that people will get. Like the last thing you want to do is do Moana and you're doing something that like everybody's all like, I don't remember this part of the movie. Or you're doing,
Like you're doing Aurora from like Sleeping Beauty, and people are like, were there songs in that movie?
Like Snow White singing to the dwarves, like, it's, or like Beauty and the Beast. Can you get away with doing the intro song? What's the name of that? Because you always try to do that.
It's the song is called Belle, and you can get away with it.
No, because the audience has to play the other parts unless you have other people or you have puppets, which she's done at Drag Brunch where she pointed to people and they were supposed to do the part, and the audience is all, huh? I don't know those words. Like, very few people know those words. But you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, could you imagine me coming out and doing, a whole new world? I'd have to paint one side of my body male, the other side female, and then turn to the audience and scare them with my both halves to do both parts. And I go, and that's the hard part. Like, I would love to do Beauty and the Beast. And, you're going to have that young crowd that's all, Ariana Grande. And I'm all like, no. Just like I would never do Christina Aguilera's version of Mulan, Reflection, because I'm just all like, it doesn't sound like I grew up on real
Angela Lansbury.
Angela, or I just think that when you go with the animated version, they try to make them emulate innocence in a child. And I know some people don't agree with that. And sometimes people have their like, well, this is really depicting or this and that. I go, I miss the innocence of a child. So when you listen to a song that's designed to be calming and soothing and still can have the crescendos, that's what I think of. But when I get these songs, I'm all, very Mariah, very Christina Aguilera with the runs going. That to me is not, you're just trying to get the dollar out of that song. And sometimes the classics work, and you can only have so many classics in a Disney show. So, I'm excited about this one because when we were coming up with the cast, we asked Clive Max to do the show. And I know this sounds really bad, and I love Clive. Clive, to me, and I've said this to him, is taking the Kings in Sacramento. He's elevating himself. But I said, who wouldn't want to go to a drag brunch and actually hear a male Disney song? Like, how often do you get that opportunity to actually see a king come out and do, even if just one? Like, I'm so excited about that because I love the options of that. And you're right. Like, I'm doing 2 Disney songs because I need to figure out what I'm going to do the following week because I'm going against, when Apple and I have some similar tastes,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had Tilly Creams who was on today, and we have similar tastes, and then Helen Heels and I have a lot of the same taste. Like we're going, okay, what song are we going to do? I'm like, I wonder if she's doing that song. And we've had that close before. We're like, I was going to do this song. And I was like, thank God you didn't, because I am.
Well, and that's what's funny because we were talking about Disney brunch, and I did do Belle, and because I'm a really cute Belle, what can I say? And so I did.
Cute.
I did Belle in January at our Disney brunch at the old location. And so I can't, that was only like 4 shows ago. So I can't do Belle again, even though it was 9 months ago. So I thought, well, I'll do, because I'm clumsy and I'm weird and I'm a little bit off kilter. So I should be doing Ariel or Anna.
I was thinking, even though it's Pixar, Trolls. Sorry.
No, that's good timing. But you do Ariel and Apple does Anna, and so I can't and then you actually wanted to do Ursula, not Ariel, and so for a second it was up, and I tried to grab it, and then Helen, who usually does Ursula, was like, "Oh, I'll do Ariel," and I was like,
yeah,
oh.
we totally traded, and then I was all going a totally different route with Moana, because partially just because I have a top I want to wear. That's the only reason why.
Well, and so Apple loaned me Meg, because you're right. There are only so many Disney classics, and you want to do the class. And I don't know if Meg. I think it's a classic to people younger than me, because it's from Hercules, which I didn't see.
Hercules, you've not seen Hercules?
No, I've seen it now, but when it first came out,
oh, I watched it in YouTube for the first time. I watched clips of it on YouTube, and then all of a sudden I said, okay, now I need to watch it.
Right. Well, see, for me, the golden age of Disney was Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. Those 4 movies, and if we're talking music from Disney movies, those 4 movies blow any other 4 movies out of the water.
I'm not going to fight with you on that.
I mean, people like a song from Princess and the Frog, or they'll the songs from Moana are pretty great. Frozen has a couple great songs, but they're not. I mean, Little Mermaid is it's almost like a greatest hits album.
It crosses a lot of genres, and it crosses a lot of generations, and I think that's the cool thing, is that Little Mermaid's one of those that you can still show to a child, and they're going to have the wonder of it. And that's, I think, the excitement about it, because let me tell you, I have some people coming that made reservations that, I'm used to the Disney princess girls. Oh my God, Disney, I need to get tickets. And then all of a sudden I'm all boy. I'm oh my God, the whole reservation list that came in today was all boys. And I was just all, and they're I'm bringing 8 friends. And I'm all, oh, that means I really have to put effort into my look. I'm kidding, but yeah.
Well, we might have to do it again, because it is a very popular theme. Also, we're going to run out of other songs, so we can all trade back.
Well, no, we can just sit there and say, we are going to do the bad Disney and just do nothing but villains.
Oh.
Because I think when you sit there and say we're doing Disney villains, who would, and not necessarily do the Disney songs, but do the villain doing a song.
Sure.
Cruella de Vil. No one wants to hear Cruella de Vil. No one, but why could you just picture her, just off with their heads, heads will roll. And
Cruella de Vil doing WAP.
No.
I know, I'm kidding.
No, we don't want to see Cruella de Vil doing WAP. But I'm just saying, off with the heads, which you normally would be Queen of Hearts. But how funny would it be to have Cruella de Vil doing that, and she's taking Dalmatians and cutting off the heads? I mean, why not? It's villains.
Yeah. Well, we might have to go there. How much did Sacramento need a regular, consistent drag brunch? Because and I want to preface this before you answer, there is a drag brunch that the LGBTQ Center does once a year, right? Once a year?
They do it once a year, because I actually helped start that, which is funny.
And that's great that they do it once a year. But how much did Sacramento need a monthly or a weekly drag brunch? Okay,
so there's 2 things to that. The LGBTQIA community wanted a brunch where they could they could just be themselves, where they can go eat, drink, and not feel stared at while they're with their partner. And sometimes you just want that. And Sacramento's my home, and I love Sacramento. I didn't grow up here, but I've not left since I've moved here. And I don't see myself moving. I mean, I may in the future. I mean, depending on what he looks like. But you got it. It just took a second.
No. I was thinking, actually, when you said it, I was like, where is the COVID hookup from? He must be local.
He is.
Oh, so you're not moving anytime soon?
No. But then, people are they see it in San Francisco. They see it in West Hollywood. They see it in Long Beach. They see it in all these cities. And people are just asking for it. And so, we worked hard. And, what's funny is when we were doing this, I remember I remember talking to you and Apple and Helen, and we were talking about the fact I'm reaching out to the city to see if we can do drag brunch because now we're serving food. And, the city has its concerns. They don't want to make sure that we're not a hot spot and what is social distancing. And I remember having to walk out there with that rolling measuring tape that's on wheels and a stick. So we're walking the space and I go, ooh, we're kind of pushing this. And, and we cut back our numbers. And so, how do you do it safely? And I remember our first one we did, we had somebody who was, who is going through cancer treatment, and we put plastic around their area because they were not even going to eat. They wanted to stay behind it. They would move their mask to drink, but you have to order food. I mean, that's the requirement. And so when they got to their space, and it was a birthday surprise, so they kind of warned them, but they didn't know how it was set up. But we found the best spot for them that was away from people. We made sure that it was actually 9 feet away from the nearest table. We made sure that they were plasticed off on 2 sides, and people couldn't get to them via the other side. And them appreciating that and realizing, and they sat there and removed their mask, and they ate and they drank, and they put them back on at one point just because, when you're going through something where it's a health issue like that, you do want to be careful. But I mean, seeing people, we had somebody in the audience today that this is her 3rd show in a row, and she messaged me going, do you have tickets for next week? And I want to be all, sorry bitch, you late, But that's sure you're right. We're probably gonna have to do that theme again. But that's kind of the thing. People just want to do something, and we're just trying to be safe about it.
And I should mention that when we were planning with you and Helen and Apple and me, we also had DJ Pocket, who DJs every brunch that we do.
Yeah, it's funny. And I'll be very honest because I know Pocket will watch this, and I know that I didn't keep him in the loop in the very beginning because Pocket's one of those people who he knows that what we're doing, but for us, what's harder is that, he's an integral part. He's dealing with the sound. He's having to deal with my mood swings right there off the bat. But he's in a place where he has his distance. But we were in a place where I had to work it out. How do we get away with performing and not have a mask over our face? And the city of Sacramento defines a mask for us actually as fabric. The plastic shields technically are not, they're really not considered a mask because you can breathe right out underneath it. Right.
The projectile aerosol can go down.
So I talked with you guys more in the very beginning because I had to sit there and say, can we do this with Venmo, people tipping with Venmo just like you do online, or people are going to go with that? How do we do that? How do we, we had to agree that we would stay center of the walkway. We wouldn't, I'm one of those people, I love to take somebody's fork and take a bite of their food because, one, I've not eaten. I'm hungry. I'm fat. Same. I'm all none of us. Or you want to take a drink of their mimosa and chug it, and then or you fall into somebody just because you fell. And we had to make sure if you fall,
or
you fall center.
Into somebody because they look good.
Not right now. Not right now.
No, not right now.
But that's the thing that's kind of the hard part. So we had to work that out, and then once we worked that out, then Pocket became a part of the discussion. But it had to be one of those that we're trying to make sure that we are following the guidelines, not just the state but the city, because Sacramento's really trying to be protective, and not everybody agrees. And I have to deal with the entertainment team, which is police, fire, health department, and that group of people, and whether you have your opinions of the police department, the ones that I have to deal with on a regular basis that are trying to make sure that there is a safe place to go to. I have to give them credit because if they had a concern, I wasn't just getting an email back. There was a text message saying, hey, there's questions about this, or I want a detailed, I can't believe that I literally had to do, it was almost a full page, I think, by the end of just brunch. Not just other things that we're doing, but literally just brunch and how it was working and who this outside kitchen coming in and that we're using a caterer versus using a restaurant across the street and having them bring the food. No, somebody's actually building a kitchen on site every single week. And that was the cool thing. But, it's obvious if we're selling out. And the other thing is that the girls are not trying to get rich off of it. We're selling our tickets for $5 purposely because not everybody has money, but they want to be able to go do something. And I would rather see them drink mimosas and order food and work with the other businesses. And then we're paying the girls, like, you know, like the girls are being able to enjoy performing again, but they're also in some cases being able to pay those bills because, you know, now people are playing catch up on those bills. You know, you were given permission to not do your rent for 3 months and then they've extended it, but you still have to pay it back.
Right. It actually due September 29th. I'm well aware. I think what we've done, and I'm going to speak outside of myself, and I'm not saying this to fish for compliments or to try to get a read, but I was talking with Apple, and any show with you and Helen and Apple is worth people coming to see. So I think it's great.
I'm going to add to that. You can put yourself in there because people like you. People do come for you. You had 3 tables of 6s that were all there because of you. So let's be honest about that. And I think today one of your performances was like a highlight that I'd love to see you do again. But I think that there are other shows worth seeing. You know, there's Dinner and Drag, and Mercury, who's going to be a guest soon, is worth seeing. I think the thing is that you have to sit there and say, this is what we're asking you to do. These are what the expectations are. And people will rise to that because there are some people who you wouldn't think would put on a good show and then will surprise you in that they still have their little fan base and you wouldn't think about it. But I mean, you have to think about Casey Kamochi, who most people didn't even know, who, I mean, like when she was done performing her second number, people were cheering for her. Like I was getting ready to come on afterwards going, great, I'm after that. But I think that there's a good core cast. We're all slightly different. We're all have our own, like we have a lot of overlap. We all have our own little niche. So the show has guaranteed variety within it, except this show is very slutty. Did you notice that? Like
today, yeah.
Apple was a little slutty. Tilly Creams was a little slutty. Helen was a little slutty. I literally did slut like you. I mean, hello. And then you were...
Well, I was the least slutty today, and usually I'm probably the most.
She walked around in a brand new dress and decided to leave the tags in it. I go, that's called trash.
Well, that's not slutty.
No, that's slutty because if you would have leaned over, somebody would have been a peekaboo of your little thong.
Oh, well, I've also walked around in a bikini and... a corset and underwear.
Let's be very clear. She put a thong-style bikini on last week to do burlesque, and she put it on backwards. And one of the bartenders, I love him to death, goes, there's something wrong about this, and he made her take it off and looked at it and goes, you have it on backwards. It was the funniest thing.
Okay, in my defense, and I'm not going to name names because I love him, he actually he held the leg out, and it was sideways, not backwards. So one of the legs became the waist.
Okay,
I know what part of that.
Ode to Chelsea, let's put it out there. One, the bitch didn't get her shit together and have it all laid out ready to go.
That's true.
We were stalling.
That's true.
I had to sit there and start fixing her hair as somebody was putting her panties on and she's taking off her fishnets again. And then, are you putting that on? No, that's a skirt. I thought it was like a little chiffon robe. And then we're all like, oh, let's tighten the back of your course. Miss Thing, if you would have had your stuff laying out, you would have been ready on time. Or when I went upstairs going, you realize you're next. She goes, what?
I was on time for all of my numbers today.
You were on time. When I don't feel like I'm going to be on time, I ask Helen to take you off stage so I can start changing a whole song early.
I get that. Because hosting, I mean, we both host, and I've had some comedians that host. Hosting in comedy is so much work, and hosting in drag is equally a lot of work.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and Mean Dave, I have to tell you, I love when comedians host shows, and they play off of the last comic. And so I know that when people are like, you know, they're just sinking ship as you described that lovely woman, like obviously she's not paying attention to what's before or after her, because I remember seeing a comedy show one time at that place that shall not be named, either of them. And I remember it was an LGBTQ show. Well, actually, at the time, it was just an LGBT. And the comedian was talking about the fact going, oh my God, I hooked up with somebody on Craigslist, and I was really excited because I'd always wanted to know what it was like to have sex with somebody with a fake leg, and an amputee is how we refer to it. And I sat there and said, if I was emceeing it, I would have came afterwards going, oh my God, how was it? Because I answered the same ad, and when I showed up, he took both legs off. It was like sit and spin. That's a good comedian. Like a comedian who doesn't pay attention to who's coming before them. Like a good host needs to play off of it. Meaning like during the show, like you play off of something that happened before you, like Tilly, like being a slut. So when she came off stage, I'm all, give it up for trash, or like you got to play off of the number, Suzette literally came out today and she was doing this number and she hit a part of, and this is an uneven parking lot. She hit a part of it where it dipped and she was already playing a very over the top ditzy character because it was obvious it was more over the top than she is. And she kind of like stumbled and she looked at it and she looked at the person and looked back at her foot. And that was like one of those classic moments that you have to give credit for because you took a moment and sat there and said, okay, yeah, it happened, but I'm going to act like it was part of the act. And I had to give you credit for that.
Thank you.
By the way.
Well, thank you. And I didn't mean to say that other shows aren't worth seeing.
Right.
Mercury certainly is worth seeing.
No, but I get that. I'm just saying that, I think that it's what you bring to the table. If you bring a product to the table, people will come back to it. There's always going to be quirks. Like anybody who's been to our first few shows, our sound is bad.
It's good now.
We've gone through, we realized that, what set of our speakers got blown and we were trying to work with them. So we went and, I actually took another manager with me, and we were like, let's go to the Gulf Flea Market and buy some speakers from them because Amazon sucks. And we found some good ones, and we decided that, we need another pair of those. But when we were setting up this morning, and I'm running all the cables, I'm like, why am I not getting sound over here? What the hell? And I literally disconnected the two speakers that we were all in question of, and as soon as I plugged the cables back in, everything sounded great, even the little small crappy ones that we all bitch about. They sounded perfect. And I was all like, wow, they still have that little hum sound, but they're small. They're supposed to. But yeah, I basically spent money on Amazon, and I can't wait to go back and do a lovely little, these are a piece of crap and barely lasted and shouldn't be purchased.
You know what? We haven't been doing brunch that long. You could probably get your money back.
No, I bought them early for an outside graduation that
That's right.
we couldn't do because there was so many protesting that there were some protests at the time that we thought that people would think it's a protest and try to show up to that outside
That's right.
graduation.
In any event, if anyone wants to come to Makeup and Mimosas, 2 shows every Sunday, hosted by us with Apple Adams, Helen Heels, and a guest performer. And right now we're featuring all of the contestants from Into the Draglands and a couple of the judges, like next week with Mercury Rising. So if you want...
2 weeks out.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Sorry. Next week is with Clive Max. It's Disney. 2 weeks away is with Mercury Rising. And if you want to come, we're sold out about a week ahead at the moment.
Yeah, we're a week ahead, but we're actually almost sold out for the 11th. So I have to double check the numbers today. But if you want to come have a good time, message us. We can do 2, 3 people, 4, 5. We will do large groups, but we'll split it up if we just feel that it's too big of a group that be safe in the sense of, like today's group that went from, there's, 7 of us, and then all of a sudden there's 13, and there's 18. Let's check this out. And it was still a fun show, and there was still lots of social distancing. They were a little closer together because they came as a group, and they were all hanging out as a group. But that was the one thing, so if you decide you want to come, you'll end up texting or calling me because I'm the one who deals with the reservations, partially because I'm anal, even though I keep screwing up on things. But then somebody's picking up the phone more constantly because you're usually asleep in the afternoon. Yeah, it's a dig. But like, I had somebody today that we were talking on the way here who asked me questions like, what are you doing for social distancing? Like, how is that being done? Because they wanted to make sure that they felt safe coming to brunch to have a good time.
Yeah, I think it's all above board. It's a good time. Like you said, it's only $5. So
and then your food and drink, it's all separate because I had
Right.
somebody try to walk out and be all, well, it's $5. That's to pay the
And that's
girls.
to
You still got
cover.
to buy food.
yeah, I
You
mean,
got to pay for your drinks.
some people have gotten a little shady during COVID.
Yeah.
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 But $5 for cover for a really great drag show with truly some of the best drag queens in Sacramento
And drag kings.
and drag kings is a steal, especially with the food that we have, which is by Picnic from Suma Poke. It's amazing.
Oh, did you try the new one?
No, I ordered something. I ordered the Benedict, but my order got sent to someone else.
That's the new one.
Yeah.
That's the, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah,
next week. Next
it's
week I'm
the,
on it.
the Cajun crab eggs Benedict.
It's okay because today I was wearing really tight, slutty clothes, even though not as slutty as Tilly. But next week it's Disney, so I can eat during the show.
I can eat too because I'm wearing poof.
So I have more questions. Do you
You
want to
can
keep
ask
going?
away. It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I feel sorry for the man behind the screen.
My producer, Jesse.
Yeah.
Jesse, are we good? Okay, cool.
I mean, if you said no, I mean, I have to give you respect for that.
We'll keep going. Really quick, we've had Ben Flicker, the current emperor of Sacramento, on the show, and you are very involved in the court system. Do you want to say anything about it on the show, or where people can find more information at least?
Okay, so there is this lovely organization where people act like royalty, and it's based off of the hierarchy of the English. So, like, instead of a king and queen, it's an emperor and empress, and they have their court underneath. And originally, it was designed to it was actually designed to elevate the LGBT community within the bar industry back when they were raiding bars and arresting people. And it was started in San Francisco, based off of a competition in Portland, but by Jose Sarria, who's military, the first openly gay politician to run for office. And it was a party organization in the beginning. Like, let's just be very honest. It was about popularity, and still kind of is, because it is a voting thing. But when the AIDS epidemic started and they needed to help pay for people's funerals, the nonprofits, or they all became nonprofits, and they all started raising money for charity, and thousands of dollars. I check in with our newest organization in Fort Lauderdale, and they're all of Florida, and they make an average, low average. I mean, this is lowballing the number, over $2,000 a month just selling masks and doing little virtual fundraisers. But then Kentucky, who just switched into a new year because we all have different fiscal years, has raised the most money as an organization they've ever raised during COVID, because the Empress, the drag queen, and the titles doesn't necessarily, it could be Empress, like we recognize non-binary, but the Empress, who is a drag queen, who's an artist and a fabulous person, Uma Jules, just went for it. And Uma's not a drinker, but she would do these Thursday night events where you could donate $20 and she'd take a shot. Let's just say I donated $40 one time just to push her over the edge. And she's like, I can't take any more. And somebody goes, the deal is they donate $20. She donated $40, therefore. And so she took them. And thank God that was the end of the fundraiser, because the next day she sat there and said, I hate you all. But the painting she did was gorgeous. I mean, they auctioned it off for charity. Like, there's a lot of good things. And, people will always find fault with any nonprofit. You know, I have my good days and my bad days with any nonprofit. Sometimes I like the LGBTQ Center, sometimes I don't. But look at the bottom line, good they do. And even if you have an issue with somebody, are you mad at a person or are you mad at an organization? Because the organization didn't do anything, a person did something. You know, that's kind of how you look at it. But yeah, Sacramento has raised thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every year. So,
And how can people find more information or become involved?
you can go to the Imperial Court System, or the if you type in Imperial Court or mcourt.org, or in Sacramento, we love to make it hard for you. It is called CGNIE.org, or Court of the Great Northwest Imperial Empire Incorporated. But C as in cat, I had to think about that. G as in good looking. N as in Nelly. I as in intuitive. E as in electrifying.org. But you can look that up. You can always hit up one of the gay bars here in Sacramento. You can go to the LGBT Center. You can go to Outward and say, I want to know about the court system. And somebody, but even if you don't do the court, I challenge everybody in this time of trying to figure out your life and how you are and going through depression and stuff like that, find a nonprofit in something that you have a passion for and help them. Because, you know, like, I travel on a normal year to 20 plus cities out of my own pocket. I have to pay for my flights, my hotel room, my food, my outfits, any of that stuff. And sometimes money's really tight, and sometimes I get those good flights, and thank God for Hotels.com, because you book so many and you get that free night. But the things and the people I've met in the whole process that I'm still friends with 20 plus years later is very rewarding. And to bump into somebody who I met when I first, I literally talked to somebody from Boise the night after I found out I was HIV positive, who asked me to continue staying with the organization that I worked for because we were promoting safe sex and being careful, and I turn around and become positive after something that we are striving to get people to not do. And she says, no, that's mainly probably why you should do it, because there's that passion there. So find a passion you like, whether it's animals, animal cruelty stuff, training assistant dog, those are great if you have that type of home, being a rescue shelter for animals to get them to where they can be, adopted, any things like that, adopt a queen, teach her how to wash her wigs, steam them, curl them.
They're better at brunch.
Yeah, they are better at brunch, let me tell you.
Someone's learning. So here's one that I really want to ask you, and I'm just going to ask it broadly. Since you've started in performing in drag in Sacramento, what has changed?
Okay, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I'm just going to say it. I had to earn where I'm at. I didn't just start showing up and performing and thinking that I deserved to be booked for a show, or that I deserve to make so much in tips, and I deserve this, and I deserve that. And I'm tired of, and we had to make our stuff, and I still do. These people who just put on makeup and just walk out in an outfit that they buy from Forever 21. No, I'm not digging on you. But it's more about, I had to get to that point where I realized there's a reason why some queens are where they're at, and it's because they've tried to do their best to earn the respect and give a consistent product. And that's kind of why I said, if you're going to put something out there, put out a good product. But I remember one time performing, and I was really upset that I didn't get any tips, like $3, and it was a full house. And I was kind of really bothered by that, because then here comes the host of the show who was doing a ballad and just collecting dollar after dollar after dollar. And somebody came up to me who was in the show and said, "Why are you upset?" And I sat there and said, I felt like I really did a great job, and I got no tips. And the performer sat there and said, "Okay, I have a couple questions for you." And I said, "Okay. Were they talking?" I said, "No." He said, "So they weren't talking during your performance, they were actually..." And I said, "Yeah." "Were they ignoring you? Were they trying to, were they busy with other stuff?" And I said, "No, they were watching me." And he goes, "Then they were watching your performance." And maybe you need to remember that sometimes it's not about getting money. It's about giving a performance that they are willing to forget that, oh, they should tip you. That you're just there. If you love to perform, then perform for the right reasons. But when you sit there and you're just thinking, how am I going to make that next dollar? Ooh, I got that one hair going across my face. Then you're going to lose it. Your product is just not worth it. I love the fact that, I have those regulars who tip me. But I also have regulars who have never tipped me ever. But they thank me after the shows, and I don't sit there and go cheap. Some people can afford it and some people can't. I've seen people who literally can only come to the shows when they're free because they just can't afford to even buy drinks. But they want to see a show. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. I think there's a lot of queens out there that want instant fame, instant gratification, and they're not willing to put the effort into it. I go, there's a big group of girls that all came out around the same time. Mm-hmm. May, Apple, Mercury, Luna, even technically Helen, even though she wasn't part of that new Sacramento group, that were about just being creative. Candy Isle, who moved to Dallas, mm-hmm. I love her. And that was what is inspiring sometimes. And I know I'm a hard ass, and I will sit there, but I also don't give out compliments just to give out compliments. There are some people who I will give a compliment to every time I see them because they put something into their performance. And, and it's wow. If I'm going to watch a performance and you are willing to put it all out there, I got to give you respect for that, And I have this new rule. If I really didn't care for your performance, I'm not going to tip you. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of giving somebody $1 just because they walked on stage, but they put no effort. You put effort into it. Maybe it wasn't the best performance, but you tried, and I can tell you tried, then you do deserve a tip. But if you just walked out there and said, well, I needed the money, so I just, grabbed a song. No, have a good time. Hopefully somebody else will tip you, but not me.
So you mentioned you got to see what some people who might not have appreciation for a different generation of drag, but certainly some luminaries from one generation of drag. You saw them all start. You've seen a lot of queens and kings and in-betweens start and grow and evolve and adapt. Mm-hmm. What's that been like?
I get called a hater because I'm honest. And let me tell you that when there is a new group that come out, they can strive you to become better. And when I'm in a show and I have Helen Heels and I have Apple, and then all of a sudden you have Tilly, who was in the show today, and then you have Clive, who's next week, and then we have down the line Jamila and all these great performers. You sit there and go, I can't let my guard down. And that's what it should be about. But it should be also about listening and taking, like, I remember, and I think I've told you this, I had a queen one time pull me aside at an event when I was first starting drag. She goes, girl, what the hell's up with your makeup? And she took me in the bathroom and started fixing it. And then I have one good friend who's, I'll try this with your makeup. And I try it, and if you are willing to be open and evolve with it, I go, but some of the things I've seen, Sacramento used to have two of the best California drag king troops. And it was also during the heyday of NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, and they both kind of did their own job. But I remember going to see their shows, and they were at Badlands. And I remember watching it going, oh my God, this is great. Oh my God. And some of them are, I don't keep in contact with them, but when I see them, it's kind of like we are still friends, and I have so much love and respect for them. And that's kind of why I'm kind of so attached to Ben and Clive right now, because I see what I used to see in them in a different way. You know, just like I grew up when the queens were doing And I'm telling you, and not because it was in a movie recently, but it was that old classic. And when we did production numbers, and when we learned how to make headdresses out of duct tape, plastic bags, masking tape, you know, like real headdresses that you can run around, and you made your outfits, and those are some kind of neat and inspiring things. So yeah, oh my God, seeing that. But then I also look at the fact going, RuPaul Drag Race came out, and it was great in the beginning because it was about making stuff, and now it's about who can outbuy something, you know. And so those queens who are creative, you know, I tease Mercury about her shit all the time, going, girl, you basically cut out the top of a pillowcase and put a little neck hole in it, and there's your little dress. And she goes, no, I actually made this. I'm like, oh yeah, nice. And then that duct tape writing, but she put effort into it, and it fits her look. And now she's gotten even more creative now that she's sewing more. Mm-hmm. Like, she's having fun with it, and that's kind of neat to see. Like, I love where she's taking it, because she's been quirky, and but at one point she was a kind of a one note, and all the girls go through it. Malay from San Francisco, we used to sit there and do a contest during our performances from upstairs at a different bar. We would yell down like a drag queen's name, and you'd start doing their iconic movement. And I remember that somebody said it to all the girls throughout the show, and they only threw out 2 names, and mine was one of them, and they all did the same move for me. Well, Mercury was like that in the beginning. Like, we were all 5, 6, 7, 8, shablam. And now she's not doing that because she knows she doesn't need to. You know, she's trying to create something a little more iconic versus the same note. And I got to give her credit. Apple keeps changing her look. Like, every 6 months, she's evolving into something different. And, you know, COVID's really pushing her to do more cyber stuff that's really good. Mm-hmm. And that's what's exciting, is I'm seeing that change again, which, you know, like, you know, they're all talking about, like, when I die, I'm taking that, or when I die, you know, like, I think the last comment was, when I'm done, Apple's taking over. And I don't think so. I think when I'm done, there's going to be a whole new set of hosts, because when I first started, there was multiples of us, and we slowly started bringing them back. I just tend to be the old one who likes to talk a lot. So,
are there queens or kings that you particularly miss?
I started, when I turned 21, I went into this lovely bar called Faces, and the Imperial Court, which was on year 21, was doing a fundraiser, and they just finished. So I walked in, and Altame Redondo, who was a transgender woman, who I'd never met a transgender person a day in my life, you know, sheltered child, walked in, and she came up to me, and God rest her soul, she's pear-shaped body with chicken legs, but upside down pear-shaped. She had a barrel chest, but the biggest heart. And we became such good friends. But she walked up to me, and she's older, like 50, 60, I want to say 60s. And she brought me, and I got introduced to Racine, who was the reigning empress, and she was a Whitney Houston impersonator, like, to a T. every move. I remember taking her through a drive-through one time to Church's Chicken on Stockton Boulevard. And they're all like, oh, we're almost out of stuff. And they're all like, just come to the window and we'll tell you what we have. So came to the window and the girl screamed, what do you, and it was screaming, and Racine is in the back seat playing it up, with her little towel. And they literally turned everything back on, heated up the grease, had fresh everything. There was no leftover. Like, it was fresh everything. And was just giving a tour. And I remember us going to San Francisco one time and people literally slowing down to take pictures of the car. She's the reason why I do drag.
Racine?
Yeah. I'm a little teary-eyed because I do miss the old queens. I miss Racine because you could tell her in a performance. She laid it all out there. She would do a ballad and be sweating by the end because it was emotional. And there are certain songs that she did for certain people that she couldn't even make it through without crying. That's emotional. And that's who I miss. I miss her. I miss my real drag mother who passed away. But I miss the old queens that just went out there in the dress that they glued rhinestones onto pennies through the material so that the rhinestones wouldn't pop off, because back in the day we did hot glue gun, and they'd sit there and the dress would be on a mannequin and they'd spend hours just gluing these rhinestones on. It was the funniest thing. But yeah, Racine, that's fine.
That's cool. I actually have never heard her name.
Really?
Mm-mm.
She.
If I had guessed who you would have said you missed it, I would have guessed other names, and I'm sure I'd be right. But that's one that I didn't know.
Racine. 7-foot black man in flats, I think, wore 6-inch spike. I'm talking thin spikes, I would have already broken them spikes. Gorgeous. Was actually brought onto the Senate floor in full drag and introduced as the Empress of Sacramento. Stunning. I remember being asked, and this is when I was a boy before I ever started dragging. She goes, and found out I danced, and she's all, will you do a backup number for me? And I remember that's when I first attended my first real court event and one of the coronations in Modesto of all places, and that event was so much fun. And doing backup and doing all that, it was so neat to work with her like that, because she also did the Priscilla Queen of the Desert competition, and it was 3 drag queens, and I was going to the rehearsal because I was really in love with the bartender who was working at that bar that's not even there anymore. And I remember learning the routine, and the third drag queen in the performance was there at the bar and all of a sudden disappeared. So I had to go on as a boy doing a drag performance and doing a backup dancer that's supposed to be a girl. And Large Marge sitting there talking crap about me, going, where did the boy come from in this performance? But it's because I knew the routine and it was just fun. Yeah, but.
And that's how you got started?
I started doing drag because I gave up dancing professionally, and so I started, I needed something to do, and I kind of joked about it, and that's how it kind of happened.
So you mentioned that's your drag mom?
She's not my drag mom.
Ooh, it's okay. So you'd mentioned your drag mom.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your drag mom?
My real drag mom,
Mm-hmm.
Racine painted me for a competition one time, and so did somebody else. But my drag mom was Adrienne Klein. She was from Reno, Nevada, and she would put me in production numbers, and she used to be the one who would teach the little babies how to do headdresses, and that's who I learned a lot of stuff from. She'd make me, can you try to figure out how to make this? And she taught me how to make a stretch dress with laying a dress on top of it. She taught me all these little tricks, and she used to teach drag queens how to 5-finger discount. If you a big girl, you can steal a lot of shit. But I love the fact that she was about performing, and sometimes she would put these production numbers. I mean, like, she could do production numbers with like 15 people. And we would piece together these costumes, and they would be like, everybody's like, oh my God, that's spectacular. And it was not with non-dancers. Like, we would just piece it together with who could do what. And it just came out really, like, it was fun. And that's why, but yeah, one time I showed up at an event, and a whole bunch of people who knew her were at that event, and they looked at me and they go, oh my God, you look like Adrian. And I go, yeah, I kind of am wearing her look. And I literally was wearing her look. Like, short dress, and the hairstyle, and even the makeup was very subtle. So.
Oh, sounds like I'd like that style.
No, like, you would be overdone next to her.
Oh, wow.
Like, she painted, and she could walk into the roughest bar, whether you want to say ghetto or bike or whatever, and walk out with the hottest man. And if he was with a girl and she tried something, like, she'd clock her right there in front of everybody and say, move, and take the guy out. Like, I loved her.
She sounds amazing. I ask because when I have queens on the show, drag family comes up a lot. And it means a lot to us. Some of us. Some people just are out there having drag children willy-nilly. But what does drag family mean to you?
Okay, so anybody who's watching all the new Pose and all the ballroom competitions, that's kind of your family. And like, when you bond with people, it needs to be a bond that's meaningful. So for me, I have lots of drag relatives in that sense, or acquaintances, but there are very few that I would allow to call me their drag mother. Or Jamila from Modesto, because her drag mother and I were basically like sisters. She calls me her auntie. And in a heartbeat, I would protect her in a heartbeat because I love her. But like, Helen Heels was like, be my drag mom. I'm like, no. But she was persistent, and then she also created herself, because my one thing is that you can have drag children, but if they come out being exactly like you, then it's just another you. And I remember that Adrian wanted me to do stuff that she liked to do, but she also would push me to do other stuff. And she'd be like, girl, why'd you do that? You know, I'm all like, oh, because she goes, that wasn't you, that was, you know, like, it's fun to emulate somebody, but it's you have to figure out your own. And if you're just going to do what your drag mother does, then you're basically just tagging along.
Sure. It's interesting because everyone refers to you as the drag mom of Sacramento, or everyone's drag mom, but you do only have one drag daughter.
I have two.
Well, you have two.
Well, I have multiples, but it's because I've done their makeup and they would never do drag again. It was for like different things.
But on the mic, you'll claim one.
I claim
really
two.
Okay, you have
I
two.
claim two. I always say I have two. One doesn't do drag anymore. But the thing is that I never taught him how to do makeup. I never taught him anything. I gave him advice as a person. And his name was Zamora Pussy. When we created that name, it was so much fun. It was a joke, and I was all Zamora Pussy. And he fell in love with it, Daryl, and I worked with him. And then the other one's Helen Heels, who she latched on to me. And what's funny is, if anybody didn't know, I didn't realize this, but when I first met Helen Heels, it was Jonathan before he ever did drag, and he was like 18 and saw this monster of a drag queen, and I tried to pull him up on stage and pull his pants down like I do to people, and he told me, I was like, thank God it didn't happen, because I would just be mortified at this point.
Yeah.
Because I don't have kai with no. Mm-mm.
I don't think we've ever defined either Kiki or Kai on the show. We define a lot of drag terms and comedy terms. So just since we've mentioned them really quick, audience, Kiki is when people hang out and just kind of hang out and talk.
Shoot the breeze.
Yeah, it can be queens, it can be girls, it can be guys and girls. Anyone can
It
kiki.
can be guys just hanging out talking
Yeah.
shit about somebody.
Anybody, comedians kiki all. They don't call it that, but comedians kiki for hours after shows.
Yeah.
Comedy circle is what they call it. Kai Kai is when two drag queens have sex.
But sometimes it's when two women also have sex. It's the illusion of females. But for me, Kai Kai, there are some people it works. I know several drag queens who are in relationships. I'm not fighting for the stage. Number one. Number two, when I see somebody in drag, I envision them that way. So I always see them in a female mode. And I have never been attracted really to a woman. So for me, it does nothing for me. So that's kind of why I'm like, nah, I'm not being a hater on women. I'm just saying that it's just not my thing.
Well, in any event, it's good for you and Helen that.
Thank God I never saw anything because I
Yeah.
would just be all.
And it's funny. I'm glad that you say that she pestered you into it because I actually had her drag daughter, Juliana Budget, on the show a couple weeks ago, and she asked me how Helen and I met. And actually, that's the one drag queen that I don't remember actually meeting Helen. I remember knowing Helen existed and being in awe at the performer that she is. And certainly now we work together every week. And I badgered Helen into being my Aunt Helen. So I pestered her the same as I did Apple.
Yeah.
But that's great.
Well, what's funny is you brought up a phrase, and so you sat there and said you're like, the mother of drag in Sacramento. And so anybody who's familiar with Large Marge in Sacramento, years ago she was a drag queen, one who worked in the bars that everybody knew, and she wouldn't necessarily be like the, over the top performer. Sometimes she was, but somebody goes, I'm the Large Marge of my generation, and I'm proud of that because Large Marge, whether you like her or not, is a great person and she does a great job. But I always kind of laugh because this is my favorite comment. I don't know if you remember the first time we ever met. And I said, oh, was it your 18th birthday? You probably were there, and I gave you your birthday spankings and left a bruise on your butt. Like, oh my God, you remember? I said, no, I did that for 7 years, every Wednesday and Sunday, 7 to 8 people. Like, I'm going to remember you. Like, but they remember me, and that's the funny thing is that I don't, like, but I'm honest with them. I'm like, I honestly don't. But, they're like, but I would love you. You're the first drag queen ever. And I go, God, that means I'm old. You just joke about it. But I try not to be like, oh, my God, I know everybody. Because when it comes down to it, I know certain people. I'm acquaintances with some people. But I have to say that if you don't have enough respect for those people who are your fans or those people who look up to you, then reality, you're never going to be any further than you are. And I go, so, like, I always feel bad when I walk by somebody I know. But anybody who knows me, I get focused, and I'm like tunnel vision as I'm hitting everything, sorry. And I get tunnel vision, and then I walk by people, and they'll message me going, that was really rude. And I go, what are you talking about? I was at the bar. I go, were you? Well, you walked right by me. I go, did I? And they're like, what do you mean? I go, well, we had this, and then I had to deal with this. And they're like, oh. I go, I'm sorry. I literally was tunnel vision. Focused.
Yeah. That happens, at the bar last night. I was there, and I was focused on a lot, but mostly.
Yeah, you were. Thank you so much.
Mostly just focused on brunch at a certain point when about 2:00 came and we could finally set up. I just wanted to. I knew what numbers I wanted to because this for me, and I'm very open on my show about where I believe I am as a comedian and a drag performer. It's really great because I produce a lot of shows and the audience knows that for once producing brunch with you, we are selling out a week ahead of time. And so that hustle of...
I'm sorry, I'm knocking on wood.
Right, going backwards we have.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, you never know. It's COVID or anything could happen. But we're lucky for the month that we've had.
Yes.
And there's such a hustle when you're producing a show of selling tickets. And people think producing is so glamorous, and they think it's easy and you can book yourself. I think if I imagine what other people's reads would be of me, it's like, oh, she produces and she books herself. Producing sucks sometimes. It's great. So great sometimes. It's amazing when you do a show and the audience leaves happy and your performers are happy and the venue's happy. I couldn't be happier.
But let's be honest. Wouldn't it be nice to just walk in, do the show, get your pay, and leave? And I've done that with you. But the one is usually if I'm going and doing a show with you, we're like traveling together, we're like unloading together, we're doing stuff together. But I love when you can just walk in. But I'm not that person either, though, because like I'll go to these events that I'm supposed to be a guest at, and all of a sudden I'm like, do you need help building sets? Like, do you need me to do that? Like, oh, I'm like bored in my hotel room because I didn't have a hookup for that hour. And I'm all like, what do you need? Like, oh, you need somebody to help. Let's make Jell-O shots. Like, it's just like one of those that you just do. But people who think producing is glamorous,
or easy, or the way to go. That's what I was gonna say. I was able last night when we were setting up, I wasn't thinking about how many tickets have we sold. I wasn't even thinking for the first time, what am I doing with my numbers? Now, knowing me, and I say this on the show all the time, I don't know what I'm wearing sometimes for some of my numbers. I lucked out today with one of them.
She brought 20.
I usually do. It's called Forever 21 for a reason. But the other one, I was able just to know I'm doing this, and it's going to be fun, and I can focus on setting up the chairs. But I don't have to worry about ticket sales or...
Oh, yeah.
And we finally got the right speakers.
Thank God. We got to get 2 more, and then I'll be happy. I think everybody will be happy. But the thing is like there's all this prep. Like, we meet, and then we map everything out and figure out how many chairs. And then we're like, can we fit another table because 2 more people want to do it? Or then we have to figure out, we got to print out the menu. Let's pre-cut them. Let's pre-put them in table groupings so the person handing out the menus isn't trying to count how many. Because during COVID, we are wasting a lot of paper, and we know that. But we don't want people touching a menu then handing it off to somebody else when it's a Xerox or a photocopy.
It's preferred now. The grocery stores have gone back to plastic bags even.
So we're purposely being very careful about those things. And it's just, it is a lot of work. Oh.
It's a ton, but it's. I like where we are. I don't remember how we got here, but so far it's been really great. And I should also say thank you, because when you do my shows that we don't produce together, you do certainly help out so much.
I talk shit about the audience.
Oh,
and because I'm the mean one, she ends up being the hero. Because I talk crap about people in the audience, and they're just staring at me, and their friends are laughing, and then she comes going, oh, I'm so sorry she picked on you, and they're all, okay, I like you.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm remembering a time when it wasn't the audience. I was holding a rabbit on stage, and you don't remember?
No.
Oh, there's video.
What were you doing?
I was just holding a rabbit. Oh, you know what? I know how to make you remember. I was wearing a rainbow tutu.
Oh, I read her for a rainbow tutu.
No, you read me because my hair was worse than the rabbit's.
Oh, I don't remember that. That's called memorable.
You don't always pick on the audience, is what I'm saying.
I pick on you as soon as I can.
Oh, I know. I
am the first one to sit there and say, now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're ready for the next entertainer, but if you are sober, you're not going to be.
I can't wait for a brunch where Chelsea's there and you're there.
And Mean Dave.
Yeah. The only other question I had was, I used to bartend in drag. How much would it take for you to do that again?
I did it because I quit my job. They wanted a drag queen bartender. I did it, and then I quit my job, then became a manager. It's a lot of work because, it's one thing for a bartender to go in 5 minutes before their shift with their little tip jar and their stuff. it's another thing to be a drag queen that has to have a whole separate wardrobe. And then you can't wear sneakers because they'll talk shit about you. So I had to have wedges. So you had to buy wedges constantly because they only last a month, really. And then you're trying to like bartend. And if you wear long hair, which I did twice, never again, it's like in a drink. And no one wants that. So then you're doing short hair. So you're having to change your motif. And then, like it's hot as hell. So do I do it? Yes. Have I done it recently? No. I don't have a problem doing it, but I'm a manager for a reason. And I'd rather my staff be able to do their job, and I'll step in and help them as the needed. And I've done that in drag where I've stepped behind a bar because they're slammed and like, let me pour some drinks. Matter of fact, today I had to do that. But I'm one of those people going, I make my money performing, or I make myself money as a manager, and that I need to hire the staff, and they need to earn their money because that's what they're doing to make their money. And so I prefer not to, but I will every once in a while.
Oh, okay.
I just prefer not to.
I can't imagine doing it. So.
Oh, it was hell.
And
I used to do it with a chest plate. And if you don't know what a chest plate is, find out, because let me tell you, it takes your temperature and elevates it another 10 degrees.
Oh, one of the best segments we've ever had on the show, Rosalia Valentine was on the show, and she gave a PG-rated explanation of tucking, if you can believe it. It was amazing.
Wow. I sit there and pull out a staple gun and say, let me show you.
That's also PG, but you probably get less takers. That is all the questions, unless you want to address, there is a rumor that you hate drag kings.
Oh my God. I can't believe you were going to ask that. So I posted online and I got fed up and I said this. If I hate a person who falls within a category, which in this case is I do not care for a particular drag king. But here's what's funny. This drag king is polished. The look, the lines on the makeup. We just have differences in attitude. So we don't get along. We are like this. I have no problem saying that. But I will say that king is polished. I will give them their props. Probably rolling over, like totally sitting there going, because I've never said that to their face. But I've probably known drag kings just as long as I've known drag queens, because when you're part of the court system, you have both. You have, the first person I met within the court system technically was a transgendered woman who I didn't even realize it. I just was kind of like taken back, and then I started meeting. But there are drag kings I've known for years, and some of them I'm really close to, and that's what people don't get. So do I hate drag kings? No. Do I have personal issues with some of their choices? Yes. I will say this. I don't agree with, and here's the funny part. The person who made the comment is not even part of the drag king community. They are friends. It's part of that. They're a part of that circle, but they're not even a drag performer.
Well, you get the comment a lot, also.
Well, and I get that.
I hear it repeated.
It's because I have no problem calling somebody out. I'll call it out, but I also don't hire drag kings so much because the audience doesn't get them. And when you are booking a show and the audience is expecting certain things, you have to give them what they want, or your show's never going to make it. Now that there's a change in drag kings again, because for me, at one point, Sacramento only had really 2 drag kings, and for the most part, only one for 5 or 6 years. The rest disappeared, and then they started coming back. But my whole thing is that you better be giving me that product, because if you're going to sit there and show up and do something that the audience isn't going to enjoy because you don't care because you're a performer, well, I'm not going to book you, because last thing I want to do is have all your regulars and your audience, so those random people who come in, who, one, don't always understand drag kings in general. Like, not every, it's not something that is it's becoming accepted, but wasn't. They don't get it is the term. And I sit there and go, so you kind of sometimes have to play up to an audience until they know you. I've said this to even drag queens that have an aesthetic that the audience never gets. You know, like you perform at one bar and you get accepted, and you perform at another one and they're like, what the hell? And I had to tell a drag queen one time, the safest thing to do is give them their first performance of something you know they're going to want to see. Like over the top, it is exactly what they want, even if it goes against your aesthetic, who you are. And then you then do a number that's you, or you modify a performance they would like and infuse yourself into it until they get so used to you, you can pretty much get away with anything. So, you know, in all reality, I go, I respect certain people. Just because you are a drag performer does not mean that you get my respect. I don't have to give anybody respect. Period. If they respect me, I should respect them. I may not agree with them. I have a friend who we had to agree to be friends, but to disagree because we have such different values. Gay man who's a Trump supporter, and I don't necessarily agree with some of the things, but we agreed to the fact going, I respect him because he has an opinion, not because he follows what everybody else wants him to do. So when I said that to him, he appreciated that because I at least acknowledged the fact going, I don't agree with your opinion, but I respect the fact you have your own opinion. With drag kings, drag queens, I don't care if you're bio, cis, whatever. If you aren't putting an effort into it, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you a tip. I owe you the courtesy of being polite. But it doesn't mean that I have to actually be your friend, because I don't have to be anybody's friend. But I at least need to be respectful unless you choose not to be respectful to me.
I will say, you mentioned something in there that I think is some of the best advice that I've gotten as a drag performer. And I kind of modified it because sometimes I'm stubborn and hear what I want. But perform something for the audience that they want in your own way. Mm-hmm. And I know you've given that exact advice to a queen that wasn't me. And so I try to do that at least once a show.
You know, there's sometimes I perform that I'm just like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this number because I'm not feeling it. But then I remember that sometimes it's about a show. And you know, I mentioned Large Marge once earlier, and she was managing, and she was in charge of paying out for the girls, and I was in the cast. And we were like, I can't believe there's only 6 people out there. And it was a holiday weekend. People were out of town. And she sat there and said, you're getting paid. They deserve the same type of show you would give if there were 50 people out there. And if you make $1 from each one of them, at least you've given them the respect they deserve. But I go, but you need to give them that. If they choose to ignore you, then you could half-ass it. That may, you know. But then if one person is feeling you and giving you all the attention, then you need to just give them all that more. And I think that's what people have to remember is, you know, there's an old phrase, you know, you have to earn respect. And I believe that. I go, I would not ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do or haven't done myself. You can ask my staff that. Like, I've carried full-on kegs of beer, and if you've ever lifted one, they're heavy as hell, in heels downstairs because I had an employee who was whining. I was like, fine, move. I don't got time. And I did it, and they kind of just stared at me, and they're like, I can't believe you did that. I said, why wouldn't I? I go, I have a job to do just like you do. So in the future, you find a partner to help you take them down the stairs, but I don't have time. You know, you just have to make it work, and sometimes you have to modify your expectations and what you do. I go, I've seen some of the best performances come out of mistakes. I've seen some of the best performances come out of modifications, but I've seen some of the worst shows come out of a cast that refused to give the audience something that they at least earned. They came there, especially if they paid the money. Like, I've gone to some of these events where people paid the money and the whole show was ballads. I was like, oh my God, we're on ballad 15. who wants to be bored like that? Like, change the tempo. Give me something. The audience doesn't want to see another fancy dress.
I think so. That's all the questions beside the rapid fire questions I have. But you said something that I think sums you up in a sentence, and it happened today. You did a and forgive me, I'm not an acrobat myself. You did a front roll on at brunch, which, folks, we do brunch in a parking lot, and there's no anything on the ground. It's just parking lot. So you did a front roll in a parking lot for your number, and I was standing by, and you managed the bar, and I was standing by one of your employees, and he said, "Holy shit, Taryn just did a front roll in the parking lot." And I thought to myself, knowing you, yeah, of course you did.
That's part of my performance.
You did what you had to do to perform. That's what you do.
You want to give the audience something I want to say, but I do want to say this before we end this because I want to make sure. With all the social climate out there, I just really want to say this. And this is my new phrase, and I don't remember if you were in the car with me or somebody, but I want to make sure I'm putting it out there. If you emulate a stereotype, then you're just as much of the issue. And you take that any way you want to. But I've started realizing that when people give other people the stereotype, that's what keeps the stereotype moving forward. And that's where that comes from. So take it any way you want to. Think about it, process it, and see how you can change yourself to make sure that you're still yourself, but you're not emulating the stereotype. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing about the show being on Twitch is people can clip things. So anyone can clip that, and they can send that to a friend, because that's a good thought. I think it's helpful. So, Taryn Thru-U, are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Oh, shit. Sure.
Okay. These can be as fast as you want. Sometimes people take 20 minutes on one question. I don't think you want to do that.
No.
What is your favorite thing about the existence of brunch?
People to just enjoy the art of drag.
A drag name that you didn't end up using.
Anita Buffet.
Favorite wig color?
Wait, what?
Favorite wig color?
Oh, wig color, blonde.
Do you name your wigs?
Very seldom.
When you put on a bra, do you clasp it in the front and then spin it, or do you clasp it in the back?
No, you ask somebody nearby who's a little better with it to actually clasp it for you.
That's the first time I've heard that answer. How high is too high for high heels?
If you can walk in them, it doesn't matter.
What if you can shuffle?
You can walk in them. I'm going those. There. I remember a queen who literally the highest heel she can go is a 1-inch heel. She was a bigger girl, and she would break heels, and so she did a 1-inch heel. That was high for her. She would walk around in flip-flops if she could, but she did combat boots. There you go. If you got weak ankles, you got weak ankles.
Aesthetics. What is your favorite regular show to perform in?
Fridays are drag, because that's a lot of the people I know.
What's your favorite venue to perform in?
Wow. UC Davis. Because I've done their Davis is Burning so many times, and I just love the energy.
What's your favorite song to perform to?
Oh, Deborah Cox. Nobody's supposed to be here.
I was going to say, is there a specific song?
Or to me, A Stranger in My House. They're close to.
What is your... That's an choice. What's the funniest thing an audience member has ever said to you after a show?
Oh, wow. You know what's funny is that very seldom. Oh.
It's because they're scared of you.
Yeah, sometimes. No, audience member was mad because I did my donut routine and I didn't let them have a donut.
Which, if you haven't seen the donut routine, just...
I have sex on stage with donuts.
Yeah, go to Becca Beat Dragon and look through Taryn Thru-U. There's playlists for every queen that Becca's ever seen. She's the drag anthropologist. find Taryn, and find the donut routine. You'll thank me, and you'll thank Taryn ultimately. 'Cause
Or
I
you
didn't
may
do
not.
anything.
You may have nightmares.
You might. Who is your favorite LGBTQ activist?
I'm going to actually pick somebody who's current,
Mm-hmm.
who I have so much love and respect for, who is Ebony Harper.
What is your favorite item on the gay agenda?
Glitter. Actually, no sequins.
We've got glitter before. I don't think we've got sequins. Which do you think COVID-19 pandemic has affected more, the straight dating scene or the gay dating scene?
I'm going to say both equally. I just think that it's affected people in so many different ways, that it's either destroyed relationships because they weren't prepared to be that knowledgeable of somebody. So in either case.
I wonder, this is beside the point, but I wonder how many it saved because they couldn't move out and they were about to.
No, I think that those people got out.
Oh.
I really do.
What is your favorite position to imagine straight people having sex in?
I don't. That includes a woman.
What's your what's your favorite sex position?
Face down, ass up.
I didn't know which way you're gonna go. Some people say eating ice cream on the couch. Some people say what you said. Do you cook or bake?
I believe in the drive-through.
If someone is buying us shots at the bar after a show, what are we drinking?
I don't know what you're drinking. I'm drinking soda. I don't drink in drag. I really do not like to drink when I'm in drag.
Okay. Next question's off because it was drinks instead of shots. This one's important. Toilet paper over or under?
Usually sitting on the floor until I can become not lazy and change it. So it's whatever I put it up. That's however I grab it.
Oh, wow.
I don't got time to sit there. No, I'm sorry. If your life revolves around over or under, that means you're taking too much time in the bathroom. If I'm going to sit on the toilet for a long time, my phone's going to be out. I'm going to be Facebooking. I'm going to be texting. I'm going to be talking to my mom and making sure it's on mute when it needs to be.
Fair enough. Do you have a favorite drag queen?
In context to what?
That was just something in my throat, by the way. I wasn't trying to imply anything.
No,
just a favorite drag queen.
Local, global.
However you want to answer, actually.
Can I say that there's a group of drag queens I love?
Absolutely.
There is a group from Fresno, and I love people from everywhere, but there's a group from Fresno who, no matter what you do, they make you feel like you are somebody. And they'll actually be at brunch on the 27th.
Oh.
Fresno.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're my sisters from Fresno.
Do you have a favorite drag king?
My favorite drag king. Oh my God, I don't remember his king name. I only remember his or her name. I don't know. We've lost contact. Her Jody was her name, and I think she's still a lesbian. I don't think that she's ever done anything. She did spoken word, but that would be my favorite drag king. As much as I love Ben, but still.
Sure. I can think of a couple that, again, I'm surprised at your answer. This last one, Chelsea destroyed a question. I had to take it off the board. It was, which Disney character am I? Do you want to take a stab at that? I only ask very specific people at this point.
If I was going to make you a Disney character, I would just sit there and say, can I say who I think you should be?
Mm-hmm.
Not who you remind me of?
Mm-hmm.
Can you be Aurora from Sleeping Beauty so you're just passed out?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, I don't think that anybody should be a Disney character. I think that you can have fun with them, but I think if you were trying to be a Disney character and you should try to go that path, you will never be it, because a Disney character is supposed to embody something of everybody. And I know that people are like, they're all white queens or all this or they're all that, or they really don't. You know, a child doesn't see color. Not when they're really young. When they're young and when Disney's being introduced to people, they see the concept of imagination and the meaning behind things. And I think if people remember that when they do things, Princess and the Frog, Tiana. You have to look at the storyline, and if you look at the storyline, that storyline could be about any type of person. It just happens to be in this based off of the heritage of that story. Mulan, yes, it's about this, So when you take them, yes, are they true stories? Sometimes they're butchered stories to make them a happy ending. But for a child, they don't need to see the horrors of what society is. Sometimes you need to give them a little time to be innocent. But teach them as they're getting older and can understand how there's hate in the world. Because if you at least give them a moment to be innocent and to just enjoy what life is, but you start teaching them about reality, and you do it in a productive way versus like, see, that's just what life is. I go, when you teach a child what hate is and what's wrong about it, and you can take them to the next level. And I think that's what people need to remember is that, I grew up where I had a neighbor on one side that was African American, and 3 doors down was this Asian couple who I used to babysit their kids. And I remember that the woman next door was like my mom. Like, if I screwed up, she treated me like a child, and I didn't see about a color. I didn't see about nationality. I didn't see about heritage. I saw a person who cared enough to be honest. And, they always say that it takes a village to raise a child. I still believe that to this day. I have no problem with that. If my sister-in-law says your nephew screwed up, believe me, I'm making that phone call because I'm going to make sure that he feels the pain of what my sister-in-law is going through.
Last question.
Okay.
When all of this is over and the pandemic is done and we have a new normal or an old normal, just a normal, what are you most excited for?
I'm going to throw a party at the bar. It is going to be a coming out masquerade ball, and I'm going to make everybody come in and wear their most elaborate COVID mask until midnight, and we're going to do a countdown, and everybody takes off their mask at midnight. And we just celebrate that people made it past what is hard, because people are having to find out who they truly are. You're having to ask questions about yourself. You're having to survive. You're having to answer things that you have probably avoided most of your life because you don't have much of a choice. You're kind of stuck. You are going to be questioning your career choices. You're going to be questioning people. You're going to be questioning ethnicities. There's so many things we're questioning during this pandemic. 2020 has sucked. 2020 is about vision and insight. Yeah, we are getting it this year. But I'm going to celebrate when it's done, but I'm going to celebrate with a party. I'm going to celebrate with a true party.
Taryn, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, now I get to take this off. Thank God.
I really appreciate you coming on the show. If you want to leave, we can bump David Shapiro till next week. Or
we're fine. We're not done with the show, but I'm just saying thank you so much because I'll roll my eyes at you.
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay.
Because I know he'll have something crass to say about you.
I don't know. He usually does. He's pretty mean.
He's not mean. He's honest.
Well, I'm honest about him, too, because I think he sucks. Jesse, is he ready? Okay, cool. Actor, producer, filmmaker, comedian, whatever he's doing or failing at, David Shapiro. David, hi.
Hey, Suzette.
Oh, hey, David.
Oh, hey, Taryn. How are you?
Fat.
So, David, you weren't on the show last week because you got bumped.
Right. You bumped me.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, because for Emma Haney.
Well, right. I'd bump me, too, for Emma Haney. I would have bumped me as well.
Yeah, well, she was here in studio, and it's always...
So, can I come into studio sometime and be on the show with you?
No, you can't.
Well, but you've had Taryn and Apple and Emma Haney.
Yeah, but those are talented people that I love and respect, and you're not one of those. So, Anyway, David, what do you want to talk about?
I thought
today?
we could talk about Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Okay, what more can you add about Justice Ginsburg?
Well, she was a superhero. And look, anyone that knows anything about comic book superheroes like me knows that all the creators were Jewish. Superman was created by Jews. Even Kal-El, his Kryptonian name is Hebrew. Batman was created by Bob Kane, Jewish. Stan Lee, who's credited for creating half of the Marvel universe, is Jewish. But only a couple superheroes themselves are actually Jewish in the comic books. Kitty Pryde, Mark Spector, and I'd be surprised if any of your viewers could place those two heroes. They would have some deep comic knowledge. But Madam Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually was a superhero in real life. She did things and she helped make laws that affect everyone in the country on a daily basis for the positive. She was a legitimate warrior for the disenfranchised. She was a pioneer and a scholar and a giant, even at 5'1". I knew a starry-eyed young girl once who wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to go to law school, become a lawyer, and talked about being on the Supreme Court one day. And that was only a realistic possibility for that young woman because of both Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Madam Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. The two of them trailblazers to be women Supreme Court justices, the first two. The public called her RBG, a notorious RBG, and she was famous for her dissents for days. But she was also famous for her positive advocacy for women's rights throughout her career, before her career even started. She also was a huge LGBTQ advocate. Another thing that Madam Justice Ginsburg was so famous for were her jabots. Jabots?
Or what?
Jabots?
Do you know?
Collars.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
term?
Suzette, who between the two of us, who's better at fashion? You or me?
Taryn.
So a jabot. Jabot. David.
So the jabot, it's a term for the type of collar Justice Ginsburg wore. She was extremely famous for wearing the dissent collar. It became known as. She had one only for dissents. She also had a collar that she wore for majority opinions, and she had a favorite collar actually that was neither of those two. And the favorite one, how cute is this? She wore the favorite one when Obama was elected both times, and anytime she was around him, because I think that Obama was her favorite president. So she wore that one. She also had one that she only wore when Trump was elected, and anytime she had to deal with him theoretically or realistically. And that was a gnarly looking one.
What did it look like?
It looked like spiky armor. Like if you had a piece of jewelry that said no.
She was
So
quite a lady.
I have some Justice Ginsburg quotes. You mind if I share them?
This time I do not mind.
So here's one. I would like to be remembered as someone who used whatever talent she had to do her work to the very best of her ability. It's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's a better one, though. If you want to be a true professional, you will do something outside yourself. Something to repair tears in your community. Something to make life a little better for the person and people less fortunate than you. That's what I think a meaningful life is. Living not for oneself, but for one's community.
Those are great words.
Yeah.
And something we should all aspire
What's
to.
really scary, of course, is the timing of her death. With Trump at least in office for 3 more months, but election day being 6 weeks away, the GOP is now in a rush to fill that seat. Obama, her favorite, flexed his intellect and pointed out that in 2016 they said that so close to an election, a seat should not be filled. In consistency's name and fairness, the same rules should be applied 4 years later. And that the man elected to office on November 3rd should be the one to fill the seat, not necessarily the man sitting in office today.
Yeah, Obama's smart.
So, and Suzette, I know you agree with me, but to anyone watching who might not agree with you and me, and they might not want to vote because they don't like the two-party system, or they don't like Biden, he's the same as Trump, or Harris was a cop, whatever they're saying, and the reason they might not vote or they might not vote for Biden, this isn't necessarily just a vote for Joe Biden. It's a vote for someone to decide laws for the next 30 years, possibly. It's bigger than Trump or Biden or Harris or Pence or me or you. This is to put the next potential champion of equality on the Supreme Court. The next justice has enormous jabat to fill.
Anything else?
Happy New Year, of course, the Jewish New Year. It's this weekend. It's 5,780 or 5780.
That's right. Shana Tova, David.
Right, and Justice Ginsburg passed away on Rosh Hashanah. It started Friday night and ends tonight at sundown. And I'm going to share this explanation. I'm going to just rip this off of Facebook, actually, just biting it off of Facebook. Because it explains it for Gentiles, and it's so inherent to my thought. So this is a good explanation. Justice Ginsburg passed on Rosh Hashanah, and it's said that a person who passes on Rosh Hashanah is a tzedek, a good and righteous person. Tzedakah in the Jewish faith is often translated as charity, but more accurately is translated as righteousness. Tzedakah can take many forms, including monetary donation, but it's important to note that tzedakah is not a benevolent contribution given to be kind or nice to those who need it. It's viewed as just balancing of the scales, an act of working towards justice. To use a simple example, one should donate to a local food bank not to gain favor with God or to be nice to those less fortunate, but just because it's unjust for people who don't have food and people who have too much food. It just give some of the excess food to the people who don't have enough. Balance the scales. Correcting injustice, balancing the scales, evaluating the distribution of power, and creating equity, is tzedakah, the work of the righteousness. When we say that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a tzedek, we don't just mean she was a nice person. What we're saying is that she was a thoughtful person who worked tirelessly to create a more just world, one that would perpetuate equality and access, one that wasn't reliant on charity, one that was better for people that she didn't know without exception of praise or fame. That is what it means to be a tzedek. And I can't think of anyone who better embodies the pursuit of justice. In Judaism, we don't focus on the afterlife, hell, heaven. You just live this life to live this life. This is all that we know. This is all that we're promised. This is it. Live this one for this one, not for the promise of something later or the threat of something else later. Live this life and be good to humans. I'm back to ripping Facebook. Live this life and be good to humans and others because justice and peace are their own rewards. We don't know what happens next, but we know what happens here, and that is enough. The pursuit of justice is one of the highest callings in Judaism, and it should not be misinterpreted as vengeance or punishment. The idea of justice and sustainability are inextricably linked in Judaism. A system that is unjust cannot sustain, and a system that cannot sustain is not just. So, on Facebook, this is going around, and it's explaining the difference between may her memory be for blessing versus rest in peace. Because we don't know. We don't know what next, so just her memory. And I want to get this right. Jewish thought teaches that when a person dies, it's up to those who bear her memory to keep the goodness alive. And we do this by remembering her. We do this by speaking her name. and we do this by carrying on her legacy. We do this to continue to pursue justice and righteousness and sustainability.
Thank you.
Yeah, National Voter Registration Day is Tuesday, so all your viewers should go to iamavoter.com and make sure they're registered and find their polling place and get ready, or ask for the ballots to mail in. That's all I got, Suzette. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go to sleep.
Oh, I'm tired too.
Oh, yeah, you look exhausted. You look tired. You look haggard, actually. I don't know if anyone can see, but you look not good.
I hate you. You're the worst.
Bye, Taryn. Nice to see you.
I'll see you later.
Okay, bye, David. David Shapiro, and that was just...
God, that was long.
Yeah, he talks too much.
That was a novel.
He talks too much.
I mean, it's very good, but it was a novel. It was like your monologue in the beginning.
Folks, that's the end of the show. Thank you to Taryn Thru-U.
Thanks.
Thank you to Mean Dave and Clifton Ellison, and thank you to Jesse and Stab. By the way, I never pointed out above my head was the information to send some coin to Stab. Is it still above my head? Okay, it's still above my head. Usually it's above my head on the smaller stage. Anyway, send some coin. Thank you again, Taryn.
Thanks.
You can catch her at brunch every Sunday, and I'll see you next week for my show at 5:03 p.m.